Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting series on what if Naruto was made an agreement with the prince and become a king. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Let go off me. Stay still, you filthy thief. The kitsune growled again, only to be hit by the guards once more. He hissed, sensing the burning sensation on his cheek. He tried to struggle free, but of no avail. He glared at the guard in front of him, teeth gritting together angrily. The guard scowled and hit him again with the blunt end of his spear, making the blonde yell in pain again. What's going on here? Sasuke-sama. The guard turned towards the 16-year-old raven who came closer to them. Don't get so close, your highness. He might be dangerous. But he was ignored by the prince. So, you're the one who's been stealing stuff from my castle all this while, huh? He looked at the smaller boy with a smirk, nearing his face to the kitsune as he cupped the whiskered cheeks with one hand. Weird, you don't look like a thief at all. Let go of me, Teme. The blonde tried to bite his pale hand. What do you think you're doing? The guard hit him again. You won't be seeing the sun again for sure. He was about to hit the blonde again with the sharp end of the spear, when Sasuke stopped him. Let him go. Huh. But, Sasuke-sama. I said. The raven's tone changed. Let him go. Hi. The guard nodded and asked the other guards who was holding the kitsune to free him. The tanned guy was about to walk away when the prince pulled his collar, and don't think you can walk away that easily. What more do you want? The kitsune turned towards him with a pissed expression. I thought I can go now. Says who? You? Did I say that? Well, guess you heard it wrong. I only said to the guards to let you go. But I didn't say that you can go. The raven smirked again. What's your name? The blonde cocked his brow. Uzumaki Naruto. Why, an Uzumaki? How interesting. Okay, Naruto-kun. Here's the deal. I'll let you go, in one condition. What's that? You have to come to the castle first thing tomorrow morning. And? Why should I do that? You'll see. Sasuke began to walk away. Just be there tomorrow morning. Or else I'll send my guards to go and seek for. And you wouldn't want a bad ending to your life, right? The heck? Naruto watched as the carriage in which the prince had entered left. Scratching the back of his head, he turned and headed home. I wonder why he wants me to be at the castle tomorrow. Am I going to be punished? Or is he going to give me some money because he pities me? Nah, that just can't be the reasons. Guess I have to go to the castle tomorrow to find out. The next morning. The morning sun shone through the window, hitting right at the kitsune's face. He frowned slightly as he slowly opened his eyes. He got up from his lying position and rubbed his eye lazily. His messy golden hair was messier than ever. He yawned as he walked into the bathroom, running a sun-kissed hand through his hair. After taking his bath, he put on a pale orange, sleeveless shirt with a high collar and a black, three-quarter jeans. Oh right. I have to go to the palace today. He remembered what happened the day before. Quickly, he ate his breakfast, which consisted of his favorite food, miso ramen and a glass of plain water. After eating, he cleaned the table and headed for the door. Putting on his sandals, which looked like the ninja shoes, he let out a sigh. I wonder what that bastard would want with me. I hope it's not a punishment or anything like that. Naruto ni-chan. Ohayu. Ran-chan. Ohayu. He greeted the little girl back. What are you doing here this early in the morning? Here. I bought this for you. The redhead handed a piece of candy to the blonde. The kitsune ruffled her hair. Nay, arigato. Hee. Ran giggled. Where are you going, ni-chan? Me? Well, I'm going to see the prince, he replied, grinning. Oh. Well, see ya later then. Ya. Naruto waved back and continued walking to the castle. When he reached there, he was stopped by the guards who was standing at the gate. What do you want, commoner? One of them asked harshly. The tanned boy frowned. Okay. He asked me to come here today, but he didn't fucking tell these bastards that I'm coming? I come to see the prince, he replied, trying to control his anger. The prince? The other guard asked, almost laughing. Don't be kidding, kid. There's no way Sasuke-sama wants to see you. What's so funny about it? Hey, I'm being serious here. He did ask me to come to the castle today. If you don't believe me, you can ask him himself. The blonde frowned. What's all this ruckus? The three of them turned to see a silver-haired man. Kakashi-san. This commoner here said that Sasuke-sama asked him to meet him today. Ah, so you're the cute Uzumaki Naruto-kun? Kakashi smiled and approached the kitsune. Sasuke-sama told me about you yesterday. Do come inside. Naruto grinned foxily and followed him, sticking his tongue at the guards. Hey, serves you right. 10 minutes later. Knock. Knock, enter. A reply came from inside the room. Kakashi opened the door and entered, followed by Naruto. He's here, Sasuke-sama. The raven looked up from doing his work and noticed the kitsune. Immediately, his usual smirk formed. Naruto-kun, I've been waiting for you. Thanks for your help, Kakashi-san. You may go now. Yes, your highness, the man bowed and left. That is Hitaki Kakashi, my faithful advisor, if you must know, Sasuke said, noticing that the blonde was watching the silver-haired man as he went out of the room. Please take a seat. So, why did you want me to be here in the first place? The smaller boy asked as soon as he took his seat on the couch. The prince chuckled. Well, like I said yesterday, we're having a deal. A deal? You and me? Yes, is that a problem to you? Naruto shook his head slightly and looked away, uninterested. He makes a deal with me? A prince? And a commoner? Right. Then he noticed the taller guy was staring at him with the smirk still plastered on his smug face. What's up with this guy? He wondered, turning towards the raven with one brow cocked. What are you staring at? Nothing. It's just that your face is so. He stopped, tempting. Excuse me? I'm a guy for goodness sake, if you don't notice that, the kitsune replied, annoyed. Sasuke chuckled. I know that. It's just that, you look so much like a girl. With that golden hair and azure eyes. Can we just get this over? The prince smirked again, which really pissed the blonde off. Does he have to smirk all the time? It's really annoying. Both him and his stupid, smug smirk. Kami-sama. I just hope that this will end soon. He watched as the brunette got off his seat behind the table and went to sit in front of the smaller boy, bringing a piece of paper with him. Well, in exchange for your life, he started, I want you to be my personal attendant. Take a look at this document. Once you write down your signature at the bottom of the document, the deal will start and you will be staying in the castle with me as my personal assistant. He stopped and turned towards the blonde with the same smirk and exact smug expression on his face. And if you don't agree, I'm afraid your life will be ended, horribly. Naruto cocked his brow again. You're kidding me. I'm afraid an Uchiha doesn't joke around, Naruto-kun. The tanned guy gulped and looked at the document again. Well, I guess it won't be so bad. I can have free food, I don't have to buy my clothes. And my only job is to be the prince's personal assistant. Slowly, he took the pen on the coffee table and signed his name on the document. When shall I start my job? As soon as possible. The raven smirked, noticing that the kitsune wasn't used to calling him like that. You know, you can just call me Sasuke if you want to. Sasuke. As I am your personal attendant now, what shall I do? He asked. The prince got up from the couch and went to the door which leads to the balcony. Easy, you have to be with me 24/7, unless I told you not to do so. You also have to obey my orders, no matter how ridiculous it is. And don't ever leave my side, which means even if I have to go to other countries, you will follow me there, got it? This is not going to be good, the blonde thought, but nodded nevertheless. Before I start? The both of them turned and saw a guy in green. Lee? The blonde recognized him. Don't worry, I won't disturb the both of you, he replied. But do make it up, okay? Oh, I just love the youthfulness of people around me, he said happily as he went out of the stall. What the heck was that? Who? What was that? The smaller boy still ignored him. 5 bowls of miso ramen, please, my friend's paying. Demo. Nani? You want to make it up with me, right? Whatever. That night. The smaller of the two yawned again. Aren't you sleepy, Sasuke? Not really. I usually sleep later than this. Nani? The kitsune started to whine. But I'm so sleepy right now. You can go to sleep if you want to, but I can't. Why not? Because I am your attendant now, the blonde yawned once before continuing, so, I have to wait for you to go to sleep first. Well, you might be a boy. But I'm a gay. He neared his face to the blushing face of Naruto's. Again, Sasuke rolled himself on the floor, laughing his head off. Ha ha ha. You should see your expression. I'm just joking, ha ha ha. Nani. The smaller felt his blood boiling. He gave a really hard punch on the prince's cheek. Go to hell, you freak. Somehow, he felt a tinge of disappointment in his body. The fuck? It's not like I really want him to mean what he had just said, or do I? Arg, what am I thinking? I am not a gay for God's sake. He shook his head violently. Whatever, Dobie. I'm going to sleep now. You heard me. I want to sleep, the raven replied, sitting on the side of the bed. Where are you going to sleep? On the bed, the prince started to undress. Is that a problem for you? The blonde felt himself heating again. No. But where am I going to sleep then? The taller guy smirked at this statement. Well, you can sleep on the floor if you want to. He looked at the furious Kitsune. Or. You can sleep with me on the bed. Demo. How about this? Just sleep with me. It's not like you have a choice anyway, since it's an order. Sleep with me. Or you won't be seeing the sun again tomorrow. His voice changed. Naruto gulped. He knew he couldn't do anything, but still, could he resist the growing need in his body? His eyes was still stuck at the raven's body. It was lean and a little bit muscular. The pale skin radiated in the dark room. The blonde gulped again, sensing the tightness in his pants. Darn it. Why am I getting so excited over his beautiful, sexy body? Arg, get over it, Naruto. Dobie, are you going to sit there all night? Come here and get some sleep. Yeah. Sasuke smirked again, watching the smaller boy undress. He had a smaller body comparing to the prince, which looked much like a girl's body with the slight curves here and there. His long legs was slim and tanned, just like all the other parts of his body. Clad only in his navy blue boxers, he noticed the taller guy was watching him. Nani? Nothing. Come on, let's get some sleep now. NH. The Kitsune tried to move his body again, but he was held back. Frowning with his eyes shut, he tried again, but to no avail. It was as if something was holding him and not letting go. He moved again and noticed something wrapping his slim waist. He touched it slowly and found out that it was a pair of strong but slender arms. What the heck? Without thinking any further, or remembering anything that had happened the night before, he quickly elbowed the person behind him. With his full strength. The poor guy was sent flying half across the room and fell onto the hard, cold floor with a loud thud. Naruto got up and looked at the stalker. Suddenly, the memories of the night came into his mind. Oh. My. God. I am so dead. The. Hell. The blonde began to shake in horror as he sensed the fire of anger coming out from the raven who had his bottom on the floor. His charcoal eyes were hidden behind his bangs as a murderous smile appeared on his pale face. Naruto gulped and slowly crawled towards him from the bed. You're okay. Sasuke. What the heck do you think you're doing? All of a sudden, Sasuke was right in front of him, clenching his collar. Hitting me? Don't you love your life? Gomenasai. Sasuke. Gomenasai. He pleaded. The taller guy tightened his fist. No apologies. Before he managed to hit the smaller boy, Sasuke noticed a small teardrop hanging at the corner of the closed blue orbs. Naruto's hands was holding his forearms, trying hard to pull them away as his face reddened unbelievably. That small drop of slaty water then flowed down his whiskered face. Please, Sasuke. Let me go, he squeaked. Do you have to cry? The Kitsune quickly wiped off his tear as soon as the prince let him go. Shut up, Teme. He smirked and walked to the bathroom. I want to see the bed and breakfast done when I'm out. Nani? He looked at the smaller boy, uninterested. You heard me. Don't you love your life? Sasuke smirked and entered the small lavatory, leaving the pouting boy alone. Bottom lip sticking out, he frowned angrily. How mean, he didn't even apologize for making me cry. Darn it, why did I cry in the first place? I'm such an idiot. No, he's an idiot. Who told him to hug me so gently yet so protectively with his long and slightly muscular arms? What the heck? He shook his head and slapped his cheeks with his hands. Get out of the gutter already, Naruto. After a few seconds, he finally cooled down. Sighing, he went to make up the bed. Then, he went straight to the kitchen and began to make breakfast. While he was preparing the breakfast, he could hear Sasuke's rich voice humming a tune inside the bathroom. What's that he's humming? It's so. HMM. He started to sing to the hum as well. Believe me, if you hear them together, they make a perfect duet. Still, Naruto remembered that he still had a meal to prepare, in which he almost forgot. XD. Immediately, he continued on with his task. Later. So, how was it? How was what? The breakfast. And the bed as well. Don't tell me you asked me to do it but didn't even care about it, he pouted. He smirked at the cute pout. Oh, that. Well, it's horrible. Nani? After all my hard work. He began to tear up again. My. Somebody's being totally delicate here. P. Sasuke rolled his eyes and breathed out. Really, why do you have to act like a girl? Still, I guess I'll just get over it since you look so cute and vulnerable like that. And put that lip back or I'll bite it off. With that thought, he smirked. You're really such a meanie. Suddenly, he felt two strong arms wrapping his small torso. At the spot, two tints of red appeared on his cheeks as he gulped and felt his heart racing. Slowly, he touched the pale arms. Sasuke, who was the one hugging him from behind, smirked and tightened the embrace. The smaller boy grimaced slightly. Oh. Sasuke. Nanda you. I just wanted to say sorry, is that so wrong? He purred into the kitsune's ear. Yeah. Naruto shivered, sensing the cold air of breath. But not like this, NN. The taller guy tightened his embrace. What's wrong, Naru-chan? Hearing that, the blonde immediately blushed as red as chilies. He could feel the cold sweats running on his forehead to his cheek and down to his kai. The both of them had been running for quite some time now. A few seconds later, Naruto noticed a T-junction. He decided to turn left and quickly disappeared into the lane. Without his notice, the road led directly to the castle. He continued to run until he bumped into someone. Ow! The both of them collided with Naruto fell upon his butt. He yelped in slight pain. After a second, he realized his mistake on crashing into the person and quickly got up to face the person and to apologize to him. When he got up, he was very shocked. In front of him stood a tall guy in the age of 20s with a face that looked very much like the prince. Gomenasai. He bowed frantically. Watch where you're going, he replied. Where are you heading to? I don't exactly know. The raven stared at him. You do know this way leads to the castle, don't you? Hearing the word castle, he immediately remembered why he was running. Quickly, his face changed as he worriedly glanced to the back a few times. The taller guy only watched as the blonde fidgeted nervously in front of him. Then, he heard the smaller boy squeaking in fear. He looked to the distance and saw the other running guy. Naruto. Naru. What are you doing here? Naruto made an upset expression. I was running away from you, you perverted bastard. Still, Sasuke wouldn't move. He was staring, glaring to be precise, at the other raven behind the kitsune. The blonde frowned and approached him. He didn't budge, as if there was something that was stopping him from looking away. Naruto cocked his head and waved in front of the raven, which brought him back to real life. Oi, Sasuke. What's wrong with you? Nothing. The older guy smirked. Long time no see, Tuto. Huh? Naruto turned around towards the other guy. Did I just heard him say, Tuto? He lifted a brow. Then, he looked back at Sasuke. The raven's face was filled with anger, brows furrowed together tightly. Okay. What exactly is happening here? Naruto asked himself. Truly, he wanted an explanation on why the stranger called Sasuke, little brother, and why Sasuke's face looked really angry. You don't have the right to call me that anymore, Aniki. Aniki? The blonde blinked a few times. Okay. This has just crossed the line in my mind. What the heck is happening here exactly? Someone tell me please. HN. You didn't tell this little fox of yours that you don't have a brother? The raven smirked again. Sasuke. The prince grumbled. You aren't my brother anymore. Sasuke. The third person approached the both of them. Don't tell me that. Don't you know the tight bond between the Uchihas? Shut up. You never belonged to the Uchiha family, and by God I swear you'll never be. Sasuke was really angry that he felt like killing the older Raven at the spot. If it wasn't for Naruto, the long-haired guy might have been sent to the hell. The Kitsune was the one who stopped the Raven from releasing his anger at the other one. Seeing this, the tallest of the three smirked again. This is just getting too good, he thought. What are you smirking at, you bastard? Sasuke yelled. Nothing. He approached the both of them, stopping behind Naruto. Arigato ne, kawaii Kitsune. Hearing that, the blonde couldn't help but to blush. Letting go of Sasuke's arms, he looked down and began to fiddle with his fingers. Sasuke noticed this and was really upset. I never made Naruto like that. How can he? In just a few seconds. This time, he was really burning in anger. Even Naruto and his brother could feel the heat. You are so over the line, Itachi, I'll kill you if that is the last thing I do. Immediately, he jumped over Naruto, and I mean over, XD, and began attacking the other Raven. Unluckily, the taller guy was much faster than him. Much stronger as well. In a matter of minutes, Sasuke was already on the ground with both his arms in the back, being pulled by his brothers who on top of him. He tried to struggle free, but only managed to hurt himself more. The Kitsune, who was watching this, couldn't stand it anymore. Without thinking, he pushed the guy away. Unexpectedly, he managed to push him about a meter away despite his petitia body. Still, he ignored his massive strength and helped Sasuke to get to his feet. Then, he, Naruto, glared at the tallest guy angrily, which very much surprised both Uchiha. Get out of here already, you fucking disaster. Leave Sasuke alone, he shouted. You don't have the right to be here. Huh? He frowned even more. You heard me, leave? Sasuke, who was still in surprise, had the funniest gaping face anybody had ever had. Meanwhile, Itachi was staring at the both of them. He was quite angry that Naruto was opposing him as well by then. Suddenly, the three of them were interrupted by a person calling for Itachi and Sasuke. That person was the royal educator, Hitaki Kakashi. Yeah, right. Prince Itachi. Prince Sasuke. Stop this already. You know he's here? Sasuke asked. Yes. The silver-haired man panted. He's here, since yesterday, when you... Yeah. I've returned. What the hell were you thinking about, Kakashi? But, Prince Sasuke. No buts, I don't care what you say anymore. I want him out of this castle, out of my life. The argument carried on until about half an hour later when Kakashi was told to get the hell out of Sasuke's room. The silver-haired man left the room as told. Meanwhile, the Raven banged on the table angrily. He really hated the fact that his brother had returned, and what's more, the fact that he almost got Naruto away from him. Kuso. Naruto, who had been standing near him all the time, felt sorry for the Uchiha. He wanted to help, but he just didn't know what to do. He only watched as the taller guy threw a tantrum, throwing all the stuff on his table. The Kitsune was quite afraid as he had never seen that side of the prince ever before. He gathered his courage slowly. Sasuke. Sasuke? He called again. Please Naruto. The Raven spoke, hiding his eyes behind his bangs. Just leave me alone for a while. The blonde kept quiet, quite taken aback with Sasuke's reaction. Still, he tried to smile, which really looked like a forced smile, and walked out of the room slowly, also eyes hidden behind his golden bangs. After closing the door, the tears which had dwelled at the corner of his eyes fell onto the floor. Clenching his fists, he sniffled and let out a trail of small sobs. Never in his life he had actually cried, and what's more it was just because of a guy asking him to leave him alone. As he cried, he slowly lowered himself until he was practically sitting on the floor. Hugging both his legs in front of his chest tightly, he continued to weep silently. Suddenly, he heard a few steps coming towards him. Quickly, the Kitsune got to his feet and wiped the tears off his face. After a while, he saw a figure appearing from a sideway. It was the Raven, Itachi. He saw the blonde and smiled slightly. Naruto tried to smile back, but it looked horribly forced out. The Pierns noticed this, and he also noticed the redness in Naruto's eyes. Immediately, he knew something was wrong. What's wrong, kawaii Kitsune? He blushed slightly, knowing he had been found out. Nothing. The older guy approached the boy and patted his head. Come on, you know you can tell me anything. Later. So that's it? Why do you sound like that? No, it's just that. The raven chuckled. My brother is always like that. If you want to spend your life with him, you'll have to bear his anger, you know. I'm used to it, so it doesn't really affect me that much. Itachi-san. The kitsune spoke. Call me Itachi. The blonde stared at the taller guy. Itachi. Do you ever fall in love? The prince looked at Naruto, blinking his eyes a few times. Really, he hadn't expected the boy to ask him such a thing. He stayed like that for a while, until they heard noises coming from one side of the castle. Startled to check it out. When they reached the other garden. Yes, there are 3 gardens inside the castle compound. They saw the guards trying to catch hold of a person. Let go of me, you. Huh? The kitsune stopped. The voice sounded familiar to him, too familiar actually. From between the red uniformed men, he could see a guy with red hair trying to break loose from their hold. They met eyes and immediately, the blonde widened his eyes. The redhead stared at him for a while, before he managed to struggle free and dashed towards Naruto. Naruto. The redhead jumped towards the kitsune, hugging him tightly. Naruto, please tell them I'm your brother. Is this true, Uzumaki-san? One of the guards asked. The blonde sighed. Hi, he is my big brother, Uzumaki Kyuubi. Sorry for troubling you all. No problem at all, Uzumaki-san. With that, the guards went away. Naruto then got away from his brother's embrace as quickly as he can. Indeed, he never liked being held like that. After he managed to do so, he looked at his brother and suddenly remembered about Itachi. He turned to the raven, who was practically drooling at the sight of the turquoise-eyed guy. What's wrong with you, Itachi? Huh? The raven then realized what he was doing and quickly wiped his drool off his face. Gomane. Kyuubi stared at him with a weird face. Anyway, Aniki. What are you doing here? The kitsune frowned. Oh yeah. Well, I was told that you're here, so I decided to check if what they were saying is true or not since I couldn't find you anywhere around the village. The redhead suddenly stopped. Anyway, Tuto. What are you doing here? Isn't it weird for a commoner to be in a castle? And what's more, you're free to roam around the castle. Before I explain it to you, my name's Uchiha Itachi and I'm the older prince. My little brother, whom name is Uchiha Sasuke, had a deal with your brother. And it was to make your brother his personal attendant. As a punishment for trying to steal from the castle, isn't that right, kawaii kitsune? The raven winked at the blonde. Naruto made a face, but blushed slightly when he heard the word, personal. Yeah, that's how I ended up here. Oh. But where is this Sasuke you're talking about? Sasuke. Well, he's inside his room for now. Itachi pointed to his back. Your brother and mine just had a small fight. Huh? The kitsune made a face at the way which lead to Sasuke's room. Yeah, he's such a teme. Just because his brother has returned home, he doesn't have to be so mad. Especially at me. I hate you, teme. He stuck out his tongue angrily. Teme? The redhead cocked his brow. But I thought he's the prince. Isn't it wrong to say bad things about him? Yeah, but there is an exception for Naruto. The raven trailed off when they heard someone stomping towards them. All 3 of them turned and saw a rather angry-looking raven approaching them. Again, the green-eyed guy lifted his brow with Itachi snickering and Naruto blushing slightly when Sasuke grabbed his arm all of a sudden. The blonde frowned and glared at the prince, who in return, glared an even deathlier glare that stopped the smaller boy from doing so. What do you want, Tuto? The older raven suddenly asked. You know it's not polite to interrupt in a conversation. Shut up, Aniki. This has nothing to do with you, was his relpy, hiding his eyes behind his bangs. The taller of the 2 cracked his neck. Still. You have to know, we're having Naruto's brother over here. The raven stopped and glanced slightly at the redhead, still holding Naruto's arm, who didn't make any move to be free from the prince. Kyuubi stared at Sasuke, then at his brother and back to Sasuke. Then, he sighed and forced a smile at him, which turned out to be a smirk rather than an innocent smile. The prince then looked away. Uzumaki Kyuubi Dezu. Yoroshiku ne, Sasuke-kun, the redhead said when he was about to leave, taking Naruto with him. And try not to be so emo, okay? My brother doesn't really do for that kind of people, you know. Hearing that, the both of them stopped immediately. Sasuke turned around and noticed the crimson-red hues on Naruto's cheeks. He too blushed all of a sudden. Letting go of the Katisun's arm, he coughed slightly. Meanwhile, the blonde began playing criss-cross with his fingers. Looking at this, Kyuubi smirked and approached the smaller raven. Hey, kid, the redhead whispered. It's really hard to get my brother, so just be gentler with him, nay? Besides, he's my only family member left. So I won't be nice with you if I find out that you hurt him, either it's physically or mentally. Got it? And one more thing, you Naruto-chan. Loves cosplaying, if you know what I mean. He purred slowly, making Sasuke's blood ran all the way from his heart to his nose. Whoa. This guy's good at making someone hot. Itachi, who was watching the whole scene, thought. I wonder. Gradually, a smirk formed on his face. Meanwhile, Naruto, who was also watching the situation, felt a little bit of jealousy, noticing the small trail of blood running down Sasuke's nose. HMPH. How can Aniki make him bleed only after a few seconds while I haven't even once? Even after a few days living with that Teme. No fair. What am I thinking? Kyuubi noticed the envious look on his brother's face and decided to play a little more. Smirking at the bleeding Uchiha, he playfully stuck out his tongue and licked the blood on the raven's lips. Seeing that, the kitsune felt his blood boiling. The older raven was in the same state as well, remember, he likes Q-kun. The both of them glared at the redhead and the raven tensely. Aniki. The blonde called, eyes hidden behind his golden bangs. Let go of my Sasuke. Huh? I said, let go of my Sasuke. All of a sudden, the boy pushed his brother away and hugged the raven, as if he was preventing him from running away. Naruto. The smaller boy gazed at the Uchiha for a few seconds before he did something unexpected. He kissed the taller guy right on his lips. Startled, Sasuke stood frozen. Naruto furrowed his brow when he received no response from the prince. He was about to break the kiss when suddenly, the raven held him tightly, deepening the kiss. NH. This time, it was the kitsune's turn to froze. His eyes were even bigger than saucer plates as he stared at the taller guy, shocked with his action. Sasuke smirked at the blonde, parting his lips and licking Naruto's lips. The smaller boy was very surprised at this, but opened his mouth slowly, accepting the wet muscle in his hot cavern. MN. He moaned between kisses. NN. Once they thought they were already in heaven, suddenly they were brought back to real life. Ehem. The two of them broke apart and turned around. Kyuubi was blushing slightly, but he was smiling at the same time. Itachi, on the other hand, was utterly surprised with the scene that he had just seen. Faint red tints could be seen on his cheeks. Well then, you two, the redhead spoke. I think your problem is settled now. So, you might think of continuing this sometime later, okay? Right now, can we settle about my problem? I mean, Naruto's my little brother. So I've been thinking of staying here with him. You know, just for the sake of his safety and stuff like that. Sasuke glared slightly at him, but he just grinned innocently in return. The prince rolled his eyes and turned back to Naruto. To his surprise, the kitsune was still holding to him, but his face was beet red and he was staring at the raven's chest, not daring to look at his face. Instead, the smaller boy was playing with his shirt. The taller guy sighed at the blonde's cute behavior. You may stay here, if that's what you want. He turned slightly at Kyuubi. But you can have full faith on me, I won't hurt your little brother, ever. Not even a slight bit. Isn't that right, Naruto? Huh. Yeah. Well, that's settled then. Now, let's go and have some meal, okay? I'm hungry. So, now? Huh. The kitsune looked at his brother, then turned to the raven who was sitting beside him. He immediately blushed and looked down when he realized the prince was staring at him. The taller guy smirked at his reaction and turned back to his food, eating it silently. Meanwhile, the older raven, who was sitting in front of them, just gave the two a weird stare. Yua. The blonde suddenly yelped, blushing as heavily as he could. As quickly as that too, the two older guys looked at him. He just stared at them with crimson cheeks while the guy beside him continued to eat peacefully as if nothing had happened. He then realized two pairs of eyes were watching him, so he just glared back in response. Then, he glanced at the boy beside him, smirking naughtily. You. Nah. Grr. Naruto growled slightly before turning back to his plate. Sasuke no teme. How dare he? Groping my butt in the middle of a meal. Teme. 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 Teme teme. Huh? Kaya, he's doing it again. Stop it, Teme. Immediately, he slapped the raven's hand which was squeezing his butt cheek playfully. Then, he got up and dashed off. What's up with him? Itachi asked, watching as the boy ran off to his room. HN. Was Sasuke's reply as he too left the table and headed to Naruto's room. Dobi. You're such a cutie. My cutie. Hi, today I will get you. My little Naruto-chan. A smirk grew on his face as he thought alone. Meanwhile, the blonde was already in front of his room. He opened the door and quickly slammed it close when he got inside. Damn that perverted bastard. Fine, we already kissed, and that meant that we like each other. So what? It doesn't mean that he can do anything to me. I'm not a girl. But I belong to him. Aren't I? What does that mean? While he was busy finding the answer, he forgot to lock the door. He only remembered about it when he heard the door being locked by someone. All of a sudden, he felt a cold sweat trickling down his cheek. Gulping and shivering slightly at the same time, he slowly turned around, only to find a smirking, rather hungry-looking raven. He tried to speak, but the only thing that came out of his mouth was hot air. Naru-chan. The voice of the Uchiha immediately sent shiver down his spines. Finally. Finally what? He stuttered. Sasuke. He widened his eyes in horror as the raven suddenly crashed his lips onto the red lips of Naruto's. The kitsune gasped in surprise, which very much gave the taller guy the opportunity to shove his tongue into the hot, sticky cavern. While they were kissing, Sasuke pushed the smaller boy so that he fell onto the bed, making sure he didn't break their kiss. NH. The blonde gave out delightful moans as the prince skillfully made a trail of butterfly kisses from the edge of his lips to his neck, leaving as many visible hickeys as possible. He mewed loudly when Sasuke licked his sensitive spot. The raven smirked and began sucking the spot, hard enough to create a large mark on it. He licked his tongue after seeing his masterpiece, staring at the blooge on Naruto's crotch. Hey. You're already hard down here. He gave the bulge a playful squeeze, causing the smaller boy to moan loudly. Sasu. Stop it. No. Sasu. The kitsune began to tremble with pleasure, arching his back with his eyes closed as the raven slowly pumped his clothed manhood. So. Good. What is this, Dobi? The taller guy bent down to lick Naruto's lips. Don't tell me that is so good, it is just the beginning. Slowly, he unzipped the orange pants the blonde was wearing, freeing his hardened shaft. He smirked again, staring at the manhood, and compared it to his. You're so small, you know? He teased the smaller boy. Teme, shut up, the kitsune glared at him, pouting angrily. Besides, it's not the real two. The smaller boy started to blush heavily. Well, he was blushing from the start, right? To what? The raven whispered at his ear, causing the blonde to shiver in pleasure as the hot air buzzed around his ear. Tell me. My little kitsune. He licked the golden-haired boy's ear, receiving another delightful mewl from the kitsune. Shut up, Teme. You know. What I'm talking about. The smaller of the two said between moans as the prince skillfully used his teeth to unzip Naruto's sweatshirt. Yeah, I'm telling you, Naruto is wearing the clothes he had in the real story. Big deal. And began making another trail of butterfly kisses around Naruto's chest and abs. Teme. Naruto yelled between pants. How many times must I told you to shut up? Let me see. 3 times? The raven smirked again. The smaller boy glared angrily at him, pouting his cute pout. Anyway, let's just continue this tonight. Everyone might be waiting for us outside. Kami-sama, I have to wash myself first. I feel so dirty, and sticky, and messy too. This is all your fault. He pointed to the prince, literally accusing the taller guy for making him dirty and all. Right. Sasuke rolled his eyes. Anyways, I want my prize tonight, okay? He tugged at Naruto's waistband, making him blush immediately. Teme. Let go of my pants. The raven smirked again and gave the kitsune a small kiss before leaving the room so that the blonde could wash himself and change his clothes. The smaller boy made a face and stuck out his tongue at the prince. When the guy had gone out of the room, he quickly scurried to the door and slammed it shut, making sure to lock it. He then walked slowly to his bed, sighing, "Tonight's gonna be a really long night." Naruto-kun. The silver-haired man called him. Is there something wrong? The blonde stared at the man before blinking a few times. Then, he shook his head and smiled weakly. It's nothing. I'm fine, Kakashi, was his reply before he went off, leaving the masked man dumbfounded. I wonder what's with him, he said to himself, not noticing a person approaching him from behind. Kakashi. HN. He turned around and saw Itachi. Oh, Prince Itachi, something's the matter? The raven smirked. It's just that. I can't wait for night to come. With that, he too walked away, once again leaving Kakashi in a state of confusion. Really, he thought, scratching the back of his head. I don't know what's up with everyone today. First it was Prince Sasuke, then it was that redhead. What was his name again? Kyuubi. Whatever with that. Then it was Naruto-kun, and now it's Prince Itachi. He sighed and went back to his work. Meanwhile, back to our troubled kitsune. He was still walking alone steadily. Or is it unsteadily? Never mind that. He was walking alone, passing the garden, the hall and the dining room. His face was blank, but he had faint pink hues on each of his whiskered cheeks. Every time he thought back about the naughty thing he did with the prince, he would blush heavily and quickened his pace. Nay, Otuto. Huh? The blonde looked up. What's wrong? His brother, Kyuubi asked. Your face is red. Are you sick or something? I.e. D. Daijobu. The smaller boy pushed the redhead's hand away from his forehead. Kuso. Am I really blushing that heavily that Aniki could see it? He screamed mentally, gulping some bitter saliva. The taller guy stared at his brother for a while. Okay then. Just watch after yourself, okay? The blonde watched as his brother went away, disappearing into the distance. Really? I don't know what I am being afraid of. The kitsune sighed when the redhead were out of sight. I mean, it's not like I don't know that Sasuke loves me. He blushed at that thought. Anyway. Yeah. I've never really thought about it. Does Sasuke really have feelings for me? I mean. Yeah, we kissed and all. But what if he only does that to tease me? What if he doesn't really have feelings for me? That thought made him teared up. He crouched at one corner and began crying himself off silently. Without knowing it, someone approached. Even the lizards only noticed him at the last minute. He crouched in front of the blonde and patted his golden hair, making the smaller boy flinch all of a sudden. Oi, Dobi. Huh? Naruto looked at the raven with wet eyes. Sasuke? Why are you crying? Sasuke asked lovingly, wiping the tears off the blonde's face. The smaller boy stared at the prince for a while before shaking his head slightly, holding both the taller guy's hands. It's nothing. Then why are you crying, Dobi? The prince asked again, furrowing his brows worriedly. Tell me, what's the matter? Nothing. It's really nothing. The raven stared at the kitsune for a while. All of a sudden, he attacked Naruto's lips. Surprised with the sudden act, the blonde widened his eyes. More tears came streaming down his cheeks as the taller guy hugged him tighter, deepening the kiss. He then parted his lips, giving the prince the permission to enter his mouth. Weirdly enough, the raven did not do so. Instead, he broke the kiss and immediately lifted the smaller boy. Carrying the blonde bridal style, he walked into his room. He then threw the kitsune onto the bed and closed the door, locking it from inside. Naruto only watched as Sasuke slowly approached him again, unbuttoning his shirt. Sasuke. I'm sorry, Naruto-chan. He crept slowly towards the kitsune, sending shivers down his spines. I can't help but to get turned on when I saw your kawaii face just now. Before the blonde could say anything, his lips were crashed by the raven's hungry lips. Surprised, the kitsune opened his mouth. Seeing his opportunity, the raven shoved his wet muscle into the hot cavern. MN. NN. Naruto moaned into Sasuke's mouth as the foreign togue explored his insides. After a minute, they broke the kiss. The kitsune panted and moaned again as the raven began attacking his neck, giving him lots of hickeys in addition to some of the hickeys which were still there. He then sucked on the most sensitive spot on the blonde's neck, making a bright crimson mark on it. As he did so, the smaller let out many delightful mewls and moans. NN. Sasu. Ah! He yelped when Sasuke tore his clothes apart. Sasuke. HN. You like it, Naruto-chan? He teased, looking into Naruto's lustful eyes. Sasuke. Kun. The blonde replied with a blushed face and an inviting voice. Please, give me more, please. Whatever you wish, my little kitsune. The prince kissed the smaller boy again, only this time it was a loving, passionate kiss. Wrapping his arms around Sasuke's neck, Naruto yet again moaned into the kiss. Indeed, he had never felt something like that before. MN. Sasuke. Is this love? He wondered to himself, closing his eyes as he tried to dissolve himself into the pleasure. When they broke apart for air, the taller guy gazed into the kitsune's azure eyes. Naruto. I'm sorry for asking this. But will you be mine forever right now? I want to have all of you. Naruto noticed the small pink hues on Sasuke's pale cheeks. He smiled and gave the prince a light kiss on his nose. You can have me, Sasuke. For I am willingly to give it all to you. He then hugged the taller guy. After a few seconds, they broke apart and Sasuke unbuttoned Naruto's pants. The blonde blushed harder and covered his eyes with his hands, not daring to see the upcoming scene. However, the raven lifted his hands and put them away, gazing straight into the smaller boy's eyes. You're afraid, Naruto? I.e. He blushed even harder. Just go on with it. The raven did not ask any further. Instead, he started to suck his fingers, wetting the digits nicely. Then, he slowly inserted one digit into Naruto. The blonde flinched slightly at the strange sensation. Sasuke waited until the blonde relaxed. Then he entered the second finger and began doing scissoring motion in intent to widen the kitsune. NH. The smaller boy wriggled the fingers deeper into him to get used to the new sensation inside him. After a few seconds, Sasuke put in the third finger, which caused the blonde to furrow his brows and hiss slightly. Daijobu, Naruto? Why yeah. He nodded slightly. Suddenly, he felt the end of Sasuke's digit touching his sweet spot. Ah, Sasuke. There, immediately, he arched his back and moaned loudly. The taller guy continued to thrust the smame spot a few more times, making the blonde moan and mewl in pure delight. Suddenly, he took his digits out, causing the kitsune to groan at the loss of pleasure. All of a sudden, he felt a nudge on his entrance. Slowly, Sasuke inserted his huge throbbing member into Naruto. No. The smaller boy began to shed tears as the pain stung his whole body. No, I'm ripping, Sasuke. Immediately, Sasuke stopped moving. Shoo. He hushed the kitsune, intending to soothe him down. Gomenasai. It'll be better in a minute. He whispered into Naruto's ear as he gently caressed the blonde's cheek and wiped away his tears. Then, he waited until the smaller boy got used to the feeling and relaxed. You. Can move now. Sasuke. He said so silently the raven could barely hear it. He heard it Hyovafer and began moving. He moved slowly at first, but quickened his pace as he was getting more and more turned on by the lewd expression on Naruto's face and all his pantings and moanings. All of a sudden, Naruto screamed his name and arched his back beautifully when he rammed at the kitsune's sweet spot. He lost his senses and started to thrust into Naruto violently. Holding on tightly onto the raven, Naruto could not help but to scream and moan loudly each time his sweet spot was hit. It did not take so long for him to come onto both of their hot sweaty bodies, screaming Sasuke's name as loudly as possible. Feeling the sudden tight sensation around his manhood, the raven came deep inside the blonde only a while later, moaning his name. Then, he crashed onto Naruto's body, energy lost from the workout. The kitsune too, was panting from losing all his energy. After a few seconds, Sasuke slowly pulled out his member from the blonde. He then rolled himself to the side so that the smaller boy could have some space for himself. After about half a minute, Naruto could finally catch his breath. He turned to Sasuke, who was still panting. "Nay, Sasuke?" he asked slowly, touching Sasuke's chest. "Huh? If I tell you, I love you." He blushed slightly at that sentence. "Would you say that you love me too?" The Raven looked at him, already cooling down. "Of course. I love you very much, even more than I love myself. Ever since the first day I laid my eyes on you. I love you with all my heart, Naruto. You love me, don't you?" Yeah. I love you too." Sasuke smiled slightly and kissed Naruto's forehead, again making him blush. Ruffling the kitsune's hair, he pulled him into a tight, loving embrace. Then the two of them drifted into their dreamland, happily ever after. NNH. The kitsune opened his eyes slowly and made an attempt to get up, only to feel a really stinging pain running along his bottom and back. Ow. "Naru. Daijobu. You go back to sleep, Sasuke." He faked a smile. "Kuso. My ass hurts like hell. Kami-sama, if only we didn't do it too many times last night." "Ow." He hissed and flinched when the stinging was felt again. Indeed, after their first love-making the day before, the two had gone straight to their dreamland. However, the both of them woke up in the middle of the night and did it again and again. The blonde was sure that he came numerous times from all the pleasure that the Raven gave him while they were making love. "I should have known that it would be this painful. Ow, he whined. "Naruto?" The taller guy opened his eyes in alert. "Daijobu?" The smaller boy could only blush as he looked into Sasuke's eyes, i.e. HN. "Oh." The Raven smirked and gave Naruto a light kiss on his temple, ruffling his golden hair. The kitsune pouted slightly, his face reddened even more. Sighing, the other guy got off the bed, took a towel from the rack and covered himself. Telling the BL while, he went out of the room. A few minutes later, he returned with some painkillers and a glass of water. "Here, it will lessen the pain." NH. He took 2 of the painkillers and swallowed them before gulping down the water. "Arigato." HN. The prince smiled. The blonde then stared at the Raven before pulling him for a kiss. He let Sasuke's tongue explore his mouth, moaning when the wet muscle came in contact with his own muscle. After about half a minute, they broke apart for air. Naruto gazed into Sasuke's eyes, face tinted with pink color. The taller guy smirked and gave him a peck on the nose. "How are you now, Daijobu?" The kitsune smiled. HN. The Raven suddenly picked the smaller boy and carried him bridal style. "Care for a bath then?" Later. "Mina-san, ohayu." "Ohayu, Aniki," the blonde replied. "Well, looks like someone's in a good mood today." Kyuubi grinned. "So, how did things turn out last night?" The kitsune blushed and pushed his brother away. Sasuke only smirked as he stared at Naruto's behavior. Itachi, with his usual fakeful smile, tugged Kyuubi's arm and told him to sit down beside him. The redhead pouted slightly but did as told. The kitsune cocked his brow and watched the pair as they whispered something at each other, then giggled like 2 schoolgirls. "What's up with the both of you?" he asked. "Nani?" his brother replied, quite annoyed. "Don't think that only the 2 of you can be lovey-dovey with each other. We can too, isn't that right, Tachi-kun?" He leaned over to Itachi like a horny, love-lusted girl. The smallest of the 4 made a disgusted face and turned to his boyfriend, whom just snickered in response. "Say something about them, Sasuke." The boy whined, annoyed with the 2 lovebirds. "What do you want me to tell them?" The Raven smirked and neared the blonde, purring into his ear. "They're just showing their love for each other. We should be doing the same thing as well, you know." "Ah, there are so many perverts inside here." Then, Kakashi entered the dining room and saw the 2 pairs of lovers. "Who? That makes me as the only one without a lover." He let out a fake cry and approached the 4 of them. Ma, no need to get all lovey-dovey right now, you all," he said, taking his seat in front of Naruto, beside Kyuubi. "Ah, is Kakashi-sensei jealous 'cause he doesn't have anyone to love?" Itachi teased, hugging the redhead. "Well, I would love to get one." He smiled underneath his mask, "but unfortunately, no one wants me." Naruto stared at him as Sasuke continued to nibble his ear. That's so sad. Hey, I got an idea. He got up so suddenly that Sasuke was pulled down towards the chair by the sudden force of gravity. Oi, Dobi. Oops. Gomenasai, Sasuke. He apologized before turning back to the silver-haired man. Anyways, Kakashi-sensei, I'll get you someone to be hooked up with. But I need someone's help to get that person to be able to enter the castle. He ended his sentence by looking at Sasuke with the corner of eyes with a weird smile. What's with that smile? The Raven frowned. So. Come on. Sasuke, don't you pity Kakashi-sensei? Not at all. The taller guy snorted, crossing his arms. Beasties, I've had Anna trouble by giving permission for you and your troublesome brother to enter the castle. No, that's absolutely no way I'll let another person to get into the castle. Please? HMPH, very well then, I won't be talking to you ever again. The kitsune yelled and stomped off the room. What the? Naruto, however, the kitsune had already ran out of the room. The Raven cursed to himself and slammed his fists onto the table. Shit. And it's all because he's being too kind. Shit. 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 He cursed and banged the table a few times. After a few seconds, when he had finally cooled down, he let out a sigh and dragged himself to the window. What should I do now? He wondered. I can't possibly let that man to come into the castle. Toussaint will be really furious at me since I already brought 2 commoners in. But Naruto. Geez, it's really hard to have such a kind-hearted lover like him. What should I do? Arg, I cannot make up my mind. He slapped his forehead. Need a help, Otuto? The prince turned around and saw his brother. How can you do that? Easy actually. The older guy snickered, walking towards his little brother. But knowing you. What about me that makes it so hard? Sasuke gritted his teeth together, feeling uneasy with Itachi's words. Just look at that. I'm only saying a few simple words, yet you're already getting mad about it. The taller guy smirked, making the smaller Raven blushed in embarrassment slightly. Besides, you're not much of a forgiver, are you? Anyway, Q-chan told me that your little Naru-chan is very sensitive. And he can only forgive someone when he feels like it. What does that supposed to mean? The older guy coughed and immediately changed his expression to a serious look. Just give him a few moments by himself right now. Like I told you, Naruto's a sensitive boy and he really needs time to cool back. But, if you're not willing to wait for a long time, knowing that you're an impatient little brother, I think it might be better that you drop off your ego and apologize to him right now. And how do I do that if he is not going to forgive me in the meantime? Sasuke cocked his brow. Keyword. Itachi pointed his finger at his little brother. Sensitive. I hope you get it. Gambat ne, Otuto. With that, he went out of the room, leaving his brother blushing slightly. Sensitive. Shitty, now I'm going to get a nosebleed for thinking about how sensitive Naruto was when we did it. Slowly, blood started to drip down his nose. Kuso. I'm really having nosebleed right now. Better clean it up quickly, then I'll go and seek for my little princess. And maybe we can have some more fun after that. Sometime later. Naruto. Where are you? The Raven called for the kitsune once again, but received no response. His patience started to thin as he began stomping his way towards Naruto's room. He's gotta be inside his room. If not, he's probably dead or he ran away from here. No, he wouldn't do such a thing, so he's inside his room. But what if he's not? He reached the room and knocked on the door. Slowly, the door was opened from the inside and out came a rather grumpy blonde. He was pouting and frowning angrily. His eyes were red, most probably from being crying for some time. He quickly tried to close the door when he realized it was Sasuke, but the prince immediately stopped him from doing so. Naruto, wait. He grabbed the smaller boy's arm, making sure not to hurt him. Gomenasai, ne? Leave me alone, Teme. Naruto. The Raven could not think of a better thing to do, so he just pushed his way into the room and locked the door immediately when he was inside. Sasuke Teme. Sasuke frowned slightly, but grabbed both of the boy's arms and looked straight into his eyes. Slightly taken aback, Naruto blushed and looked away, but the taller guy stopped him from doing so by kissing him all of a sudden. The kitsune, both surprised and quite embarrassed, widened his eyes and froze at the spot. Seeing no response from his lover, The prince trailed his hand to the blonde's crotch and lightly squeezed his member. Shocked, the smaller boy gasped, giving an entrance for the raven to shove his tongue into Naruto's wet mouth. The kitsune held on the raven's arms and started to moan and mewl delightfully into the kiss. MNN. NN. The taller guy then threw the smaller boy onto the bed all of a sudden. Blushing, the kitsune gazed into the prince's eyes with half-lidded eyes, then he quickly looked away and covered his mouth. His face grew redder and redder as he noticed Sasuke slowly creeping onto him with a hungry glint inside his eyes and a hungry smirk to match. Sasu. What is it? Naru ch into his ears and playfully nibbled it, making the blonde whimpered. Ah. He tried to push the taller guy, but to no avail since he himself was enjoying the tease. Sa-un. Ah. Sasuke noticed the word, in Naruto's moan. Slowly, he stopped what he was doing and stared at the smaller boy. Still, he held Naruto's arms. The blonde let out a small groan and looked at the taller guy with hoping eyes. Then, he realized what he was supposed to be doing and immediately, he pushed the prince away. Titeme. What did you do that for? You don't like it? Sasuke asked, a bit disappointed. The kitsune bit his lower lip and blushed slightly. It's not like that. But. The raven put his fingers on Naruto's cheek and gently pushed it until their faces met. What is it, Naruto? Naruto sighed and put Sasuke's hands away from his face, again looking to the side. I just want Iruka-sensei to be here. With me. With. All of us. Just like a family. Not just because I want him to be with Kakashi. The prince once again pulled the kitsune's face until their faces met. Look, Naruto. You can bring anyone into the castle. But please. Don't. Ever. Do such a thing to me. Ever again. It really hurts. To see you. Like that, you know? He put his head on Naruto's chest and hugged him tightly, not letting go of the smaller boy. Sasuke. That night, after the pair of lovebirds had finally get back together again, Naruto decided to surprise Sasuke with something even he had not done before. He felt guilty for letting the raven to go into all the troubles with his father just so that he would be happy. So, he decided to make up with it and make the prince happy, or shocked with his surprise. I've already asked Taniki to fetch the clothes for me, he should be here in a few minutes. He scratched his head as he arranged the room, specially for the night. I hope Sasuke would like this. He smiled and blushed slightly, thinking of a few circumstances that might happen when the taller guy find out about it. Click. The kitsune turned around, saw Sasuke. Oh, Sasuke. What's up? Nothing much. What are you doing? The raven asked, observing the different-looking room. The blonde looked around the room and smiled. A surprise, Can you just get busy for a while? Yeah, no. Just do something else, and don't come to this room until I call you. What are you planning here? The smaller boy pouted slightly so that the prince knew his true intentions. Sighing and rolling his eyes, the taller guy walked out of the room, giving a light kiss on the boy's temple before leaving him. Naruto blushed and giggled slightly as he did so. Then, he waited for the other male to disappear before continuing on his work. Later. Uto-chan, I got all the stuff you asked for. You're late, the kitsune rolled his eyes. And don't call me Otuto-chan. It's gross. But you let Sasuke call you Naru-chan, the redhead pouted. The kitsune blushed. He's different, can you go now? Kyuubi huffed, but went out of the room. The blonde made a face as he watched his brother close the door. Then, he took out all of the clothes from the red backpack and laid them on the bed. He looked at each attire carefully and chose the order of when he would wear each attire. He then took the first clothes he would wear and lushed on thinking what Sasuke's reaction would be when he wore the attire. Quickly, he took of his clothes and dressed himself with the garments. Then, he put all the other clothes away and secretly went to the kitchen and took a huge tub of whipping cream. Quickly, he scurried back to the room, making sure no one could see him wearing the outfit. When he was inside, he sighed in relief and put the tub on the table. Suddenly, he heard the door being opened. Immediately, he went to his hide place where he had purposely set up earlier. He peeked from the hiding place and saw the one entering the room was Sasuke. He snickered to himself as the raven called for him a few times but received no response. After a while, he decided to appear. Naruto. Naru. Sasuke-kun. He coyly called the prince, with a sultry look on his face. Naruto. The taller guy stuttered, faint blush could be seen clearly on his pale cheeks. What are you wearing? The blonde looked down and pouted playfully. You don't like it? The prince gulped, staring at the outfit his lover was wearing. It was very sexy and inviting. Indeed, it was very true, for Naruto was wearing a French-made attire that was orange and white in color, had frills, and most of all, very tight. The dress hugged every inch of the boy's body, showing his delicious curves. The hemline barely passed half his tight, giving a pretty view of his lacy pink panty underneath. "Stop staring, pervert," the smaller boy said when Sasuke was practically drooling as he observed the gorgeous scene. "Where did you get this, huh?" The raven changed the subject, approaching the blonde with a hungry smirk plastered on his face. "Naru-chan." The prince licked his lip when the kitsune let out a moan and gripped his shoulders as he ran a hand along the boy's waist and hip, playfully brushed his fingers on Naruto's panty line. He then pulled the boy into an embrace with one hand, crashing their lips together as his other hand flipped his skirt and gave the boy's butt cheek a playful squeeze. "MNN. NN." The kitsune parted his lips, giving the raven access to his mouth. After a few tongue fights and moans, Sasuke departed from Naruto's hot cavern and began attacking his soft tanned neck. The smaller boy let out a delightful moan and clutched the raven's black hair when he sucked the most sensitive spot on the boy's neck. The prince continued to bite and suck on the blonde's neck until he was contented with his work of art. "Sasu. Ah." He moaned. "Suck me. Harder. Suk. Ah." The kitsune was then blushing like mad, his blurry blue eyes half-lidded. Suddenly, he gasped when Sasuke lifted him and threw him onto the bed. Still blushing, he watched as the prince took off his shirt and crawled on the bed towards him. Naruto then remembered the whipping cream and decided to have more fun before doing the real thing. "Suke-kun," he called. "You like sweet things?" "Of course. I like you, don't I?" the raven replied, nibbling on his ear. The kitsune giggled. "Not that kind of sweetness. I was talking about sweet stuff that you put in your mouth." "Like what?" The blonde smiled, put a finger on his lips and told Sasuke to wait. He then got off the bed and walked towards the table, letting his clothes to be off his shoulders yet still attached to his body on purpose. He walked seductively as to catch Sasuke's attention. The guy himself was enjoying the moment of him watching his sexy lover. Naruto then took the tub of cream and brought it to the bed, generally dipping his finger into it and taking a taste of the sweet cream. The raven watched him and licked his lip hungrily. The kitsune looked really seducing and fuckable to him by then. When he was by the bed, the smaller boy took a last dip of the cream, licked his fingers and offered it to the prince. The taller guy took them and sucked hard, causing a moan to escape from the blonde's mouth. Sweet. Whipping cream, is it?" "Yeah," he smiled. "Like it? A lot." With that, the taller guy immediately took the tub from Naruto's hand and pulled the boy onto him, again crashing their lips together. While they were kissing, the raven took the opportunity to flip positions so that he was on top. Getting impatient, he let go of Naruto's lips and immediately tore off his maid outfit. "Ah." Sasuke. The kitsune tried to cover himself quickly, startled with Sasuke's sudden action. The prince only smirked and only watched the squirming blonde while he himself was enjoying the whipped cream. After a while, the smaller boy stopped and relaxed himself. He only stared at the raven, who had a naughty smirk on his face while he licked his finger another dip of the cream and brought it to his mouth to lick it, but he was stopped when Naruto took his fingers and began sucking the cream. He smirked again and let the boy to lick his fingers clean. Then, he pushed the kitsune onto the bed and pulled off the lacy pink panty from Naruto's body. "What are you planning to do, Suke-kun?" the blonde asked seductively. "Are you going to pour the cream onto my body? And lick it clean? Or do you want me to bath in the cream? So that you could suck it off right from my hot naked body? Suke-kun? What do you have in mind right now?" He lightly touched Sasuke's chest with his fingers. The prince dipped his fingers into the cream again, but this time, instead of licking it, he ran the cream on Naruto's chest and body upward to downward and stopping just above his crotch. After putting a few more cream on the smaller boy's body, he put the tub aside and started to lick the cream according to the order he had made. Ah. Ah. That. Tickles. Ah. The kitsune mewed and giggled at the same time. When all the cream was gone, Sasuke went downward to Naruto's member. He playfully licked the tip, receiving a delightful moan from the blonde. Then, he circled the manhood with his fingers and began bobbing his head up and down the length. Naruto could not help but to moan and grip the black hair tightly as the raven did him skillfully. Ah. Sasuke. Ah. Ah. The blonde came into Sasuke's mouth abruptly. The raven sucked all of it, making sure not to waste even a tiny drip of the hot sticky semen. Then, he turned the kitsune around, unzipped his pants and immediately entered the boy's tight hole. Naruto screamed in pain, tears streaming down his eyes as he tried helplessly to hold back the pain. NN. He bit his lower lip until it bled, trying his hardest not to scream in pain again. Ah. Ah. Sasuke. Ah. The blonde moaned. Sasuke. So good. Oh. Yes. There. Ah. Ah. Sasuke. Ah. After a few more thrusts, the kitsune came onto the bedsheets. Feeling the muscle around him tightening, Sasuke came deep inside Naruto after one last thrust. The blonde gasped when the hot liquid filled his inside. Losing all his energy, the smaller boy panted as he lied on his chest. He let out a small moan when the raven pulled his limp member off. Your seeds are leaking, he turned to the prince. HN. Love ya, Tsuki-kun. Love you too, Naruto-chan. NNH. The kitsune tried to sat, but then his head felt like it was about to explode. OWW, my head. Naruto? Daijobu? The blonde looked up at the raven, holding his dizzy head. Not really. Suddenly, he pushed the prince away, got off the bed and quickly ran into the bathroom. He began to throw up into the toilet bowl. Sasuke, startled, immediately went into the bathroom. He rubbed the smaller boy's back so he could vomit easier. After a few minutes, Naruto finally stopped throwing up and was then sitting on the cold floor weakly. Oi. Daijobu? Hi. I think so. The boy nodded, smiling slightly at the Uchiha. Really? The taller guy asked again, unsure. I can take you to the royal family's doctor if you want. The kitsune shook his head. No need, I'm perfectly fine. Okay then. The raven decided it was best not to argue with his lover anymore, since the blonde did not look really well. He then helped the boy to get to his feet and have his bath. While he was doing so, Sasuke flushed the vomit in the toilet bowl and went out of the bathroom to pick Naruto's clothes which laid all around the room. Geez. His clothes are scattered everywhere. He then noticed a pink panty. Smirking, he walked towards it, bent down and picked it with one hand. HN. He was really intending to make me go all over him last night, wasn't he? He snickered and put the panty into his closet. Ew. Pervert. In case he wanted it to use it later. What are you doing, Sasuke? HN. The raven turned around and saw the kitsune staring at him from the bathroom's door, wearing only a piece of towel. Nothing. You're feeling better now, Naruto? He asked, changing the subject immediately. The blonde nodded, smiling. Sasuke approached him and caressed his whiskered cheek. That's good. Can I kiss you? The smaller boy blushed, but he nodded after a few seconds. The taller guy then kissed him gently. After a while, Naruto parted his lips so that the prince could enter his mouth. When the raven slid his togue into the hot cavern, the kitsune started to moan as his hands reached for support on Sasuke's shoulders while the guy hugged him. NN. A minute later, they broke apart. The blonde gazed into the guy's eyes. Faint blush could be seen on his cheeks. Then, he quickly let go of the raven and scurried towards his room, which was just beside the prince's room. Sasuke smirked at his behavior and went into the bathroom to get himself a shower as well. Such a cutie. Doby. Later. Nay, Sasuke? HN. You promised that we'll get Iruka-sensei to live in the castle, right? He leaned towards Sasuke, whom nodded in return. Well then. Can we go get him today? That is, if you're not busy today. He munched on his scrambled egg. The raven stared at his food for a while. Okay. Really? Arigato gozaimasu, Sasuke, Aishiteru. The blonde squealed and hugged the prince. The taller guy blushed slightly but let the smaller boy hug and kiss him. Later, when they had finished their breakfast, the couple went out of the castle and headed to Iruka's house. When they reached the double-story house about 15 minutes later, they found out that the long-haired brunette was not at home. The blonde furrowed his brows and pouted. Where could he be? Who knows? He might went to buy groceries or something, the raven stated. What's the time now, Sasuke? Sasuke cocked his brow, but looked at his watch nevertheless. 10:30, why? Naruto did not answer him. Instead, he just made a thoughtful face and went to rest under a tree. The prince frowned and approached the smaller boy. The kitsune was sitting against the tree trunk by then, brows furrowed together as if he was thinking of something. The raven gave him a weird look as he walked towards the other male. What are you doing? I'm waiting for Iruka-sensei, the blonde replied matter-of-factly. What you said just now is right. Iruka's in the middle of his weekly grocery shopping. He'll be back in a matter of minutes. Suddenly. Naruto? Naruto looked up. Iruka-sensei, you're here. What are you doing here, Naruto? The kitsune did not answer his question. Instead, he jumped onto the brunette and hugged him happily. Startled, the man fell onto his back and dropped his grocery bag. Sasuke rolled his eyes, picked the stuff up and pulled the blonde together with him. Then, he whispered an apology to the scarred man, giving his lover an annoyed look. Nani? Sasuke teme? Naruto pouted. Dobi. The raven said and handed the grocery bag to Iruka. I apologized for his stupid mistake. The brunette stared at the prince for a while, then he smiled. It's okay, I'm used to it. May I know who you are? Should I tell him, Naruto? The smaller boy nodded and turned to the man. He's my lover, Uchiha Sasuke. He's also the prince of this country. And we actually came here to invite you to live with us in the castle. Huh? That's right. We are lovers, and I am the prince of Konohagakure. Sasuke said, holding Naruto's hand. Now, if you wouldn't mind, we'd like you to pack your things as soon as possible, then follow us to the castle. Iruka gave them a weird stare. He furrowed his brows, trying to get his mind to process what the couple had just said as soon as possible. He then blinked a few times. The kitsune stared at him, then turned to the raven. He only nodded, signaling for him to wait. The blonde sighed and nodded back, holding his boyfriend's hand tightly. Okay. So, you're invited to live in the castle? The brunette asked, receiving a nod from the blonde. You're not lying to me, are you, Naruto? He asked, not quite believing what Naruto had said. He's not. Actually, he had asked me to let you live with us, since he said he missed you. And of course, I just couldn't resist when he used his cute technique to win over me. The taller guy smirked. Iruka blushed slightly when he realized what Sasuke was talking about. He looked at the kitsune and realized he was blushing as well. My guess is right then. He blushed harder and coughed to let the awkwardness away. Then, he looked back at the boy and nodded slightly. Noticing this, the blonde grinned immediately. Yada. Arigato ne, Iruka-sensei, So, what am I supposed to do when I get inside the castle? Nothing. The kitsune stated, clapping both his hands. Except putting your stuff into your room, and getting to know the people inside the castle. Oh, and I'm looking forward to get you to meet Kakashi. He's an uberly nice guy. You really should get to know him more. Who knows, you might end with each other. Hey. The brunette blushed and smacked the boy's head. Naruto only grinned at the man, rubbing his head. Sasuke, on the other hand, decided to let his boyfriend to do all the talkings. He was not one to talk, especially in front strangers whom seemed to be opening up more with the smaller boy. Instead, he just held the other boy's hand as the three of them walked towards the castle. I wonder how father will react to this sudden action from me. He's always so busy with the problems with the country, so he doesn't really have time for us. But I'm still wondering what he would have to say when he finds out that I gave permission for another commoner to enter the castle. He let out a small sigh, thinking of the circumstances of his actions. Nay, Sasuke. Why aren't you talking? The raven cocked a brow at his lover. I don't have anything to be talked about. Oh. The blonde made a thoughtful face for a while, Then he continued on talking with Iruka, who seemed to be quite stressed out from all the kitsune's non-stop and non-logical blabberings. This is gonna be a long day. We're back. The hyperboy hopped into the huge dining room. Behind him was the annoyed prince and the perspired brunette. He panted as he dropped his bags on the floor, trying his hardest to catch his breath. Sasuke just stared at him, glancing to Naruto every now and again. Said boy, in the meantime, was searching for the silver-haired man. Kakashi. Where are you? He called. After a few more calls, said person finally appeared on the scene. Naruto, Gomen ne. I had some errands to complete just now. What is it that you called me for anyway? He asked quite eagerly. Kakashi. There you are. The blonde clapped his hands and approached the man with a wide grin. Here? I told you I'll bring someone, didn't I? Well, I'd like you to meet him. Kakashi. This is Iruka-sensei. Iruka-sensei. This is Kakashi. Well, I'll leave that to the both of you now. See ya later then. Come on, Sasuke. Ya ne. With that, the kitsune quickly pulled the raven out of the room, leaving the two men to have a private chat. Remembering what the boy had told him earlier, faint blush appeared on Iruka's face. On the other hand, Kakashi only made his usual amused face at the flustering male in front of him, smiling underneath his mask. So, did Naruto tell you anything? Huh? The brunette blinked a few times. Not really. But, he did told me that. You're quite an interesting person. He also told me that we could be great friends. I don't really know what he actually means by that though. The other male only nodded in amusement. I think I understand. Anyways, like Naruto said, my name's Kakashi. Hitaki Kashi. Nice to meet you. What's your name again? Iruka. Amino Iruka, he replied, smiling as he took the other's hand and shook hands with it. You got a nice smile, you know? Iruka blushed again and rubbed the back of his hand, laughing nervously. What am I supposed to say now? Naruto did told me that this guy wants to be my friend. Now I really get what he was trying to say actually. Kami-sama, just look at him. He looks like the kind of perverted man that will grope you anytime. Kya. The man jumped slightly, surprised from his butt being squeezed all of a sudden. He blushed a crimson red and stared at Kakashi. The silver-haired man still had his amused expression, winking playfully at the flushing male. Then, he crouched down slightly and picked some of Iruka's bags which were lying on the floor. Come on now, let me show you your room, he said, smiling as he began to walk away. Are you coming or not? Huh? Oh, okay, Later. Here we are. The man opened the door to the room and invited the other man inside. As soon as they were in the room, the brunette widened his eyes in amazement. Whoa. It's huge, he thought. Indeed, the room was so spacious. In the middle of it was a queen-sized bed. There was also a huge wardrobe and some other stuff inside the room. So, what do you think? It's not too much for a commoner like me, don't you think so? He asked Kakashi in a quite anxious tone. No kidding, the man grinned. But Naruto asked this personally for you. And he even got a room that is quite bigger than this one, even though he's sharing a room with Prince Sasuke now. Speaking of the prince, and Naruto, are they? The silver-haired man nodded. Hi. You might call them lovers or something like that. Really? Well, I never really have thought that my boy would end up as something like that. Not that I mind about it though. Iruka spoke, more to himself somehow. But I'm still worried of the outcome. What do you mean? Well, it's just that. Naruto. I don't think I should tell you this, he sighed. You can tell me anything. I'm good at keeping secrets, you know. The brunette sighed and shook his head. It's not like it's a secret. But it's somewhat a physical condition that occurs in Naruto's body. I really shouldn't be telling anyone about this. But I think it's best if someone finds out. You promise you'll keep it a secret, Kakashi? This is really important, so don't joke around. Okay, you can count on me, Kakashi assured him. Actually, Naruto's a half boy half girl. Huh? What do you mean? Yeah. The brunette rubbed his head slightly, trying to find the right words to explain it to the silver-haired man. Technically, he's a hermaphrodite. It was found out when he was born, in which I was his guardian after his mother's death due to giving birth to him. And the doctor there had told me that. Yeah, he's a half-boy half-girl. At first I didn't believe it, but. Kakashi blinked a few times, then his eyes closed in his usual amused look. Well, that's something that I rarely hear. You mean? You're not offended by it? Not at all. In fact, I'm so happy, he replied. Before the other man could reply anything, they were interrupted by Sasuke, who just barged into the dining room with a very peaked expression on his face. He was panting from all the running, trying to catch back his breath. Both Iruka and Kakashi turned to him, wondering what had made the prince to be running towards the room. What's wrong, Prince Sasuke? It's Naruto, the raven said between pants. He collapsed in the bathroom all of a sudden. Nani? All three of them then ran towards Sasuke's room. When they got there, they could see an unconscious Naruto lying on the bed. Iruka, being his usual easily worried especially when it comes to Naruto's self, quickly approached Naruto and hugged him, crying out stuff like, Naruto, what happened? And, oh, my poor baby, Naruto. 2. Ma. Calm down, Iruka. Kakashi tried to soothe the brunette. You know what to do, Sasuke. Hearing the unusual serious tone in the Silverearth Prince nodded, hi. Later. Yes, I understand. Thanks for your cooperation. Yes, I'll tell him to be more careful. Yes, and thank you again. With that, the nurse went out of the room. The tall man then approached the two males who were standing near the window. Both guys waited anxiously for his words. Knowing this, Kakashi sighed and glanced at the blonde who was lying on the bed, face as pale as a sheet. He then turned back to Sasuke and Iruka. The doctor said he's going to be okay. He spoke slowly, but, Sasuke, I want you to listen. And I don't want you to get retarded and go crazy after listening to me, is that clear? Hi. First of all, Naruto is a hermaphrodite. Iruka had told me this, but the doctors had told me as well. And because the two of you had made love to each other, he somehow got pregnant. And had fainted because his body could not really adapt the new situation. Sasuke, are you listening to me? He asked, noticing the dilated pupils of his ex-students. The raven blinked a few times when he heard his name. What did you just say? Naruto is pregnant. For real? Hi. Sasuke gaped his mouth in disbelief. Iruka thought he was about to get angry and furious about it, so he tried to calm the prince down, but instead he got the shock of the life. Sasuke had jumped and yelled, Yash. Literally. Tears of happiness ran out of his eyes as he hugged both Kakashi and Iruka happily. The kitsune slowly opened his eyes when he heard the noises around him. Sasuke. Why are you? Naruto. You're awake. The raven ran towards his lover and immediately hugged the smaller boy. Naruto. I'm so happy. I've never been this happy ever in my life. Thank you so much, Naruto. I love you, Naruto. Huh? Oi. Sasuke. What's wrong with you? Just let him be, Naruto. It looks like he's so happy to find out that you're pregnant with his baby. Kakashi said with his usual amused look plastered on his masked face. Huh? I'm pregnant? Me? Pregnant? That's right? You still remember what I told you before, right? Naruto? Please leave me alone just for a while. The three of them stared at the blonde. They knew it would be much of a surprise for the boy, so they nodded and went out of the room. However, when Sasuke turned his body to go out as well, the kitsune grabbed his arm. His face was still hidden behind his bangs, yet he did not let go of the raven's right arm. Please, he whispered. Stay with me, okay? The taller guy nodded, then he turned to the other two standing by the door and signaled for them to go out of the room. They both nodded and went out. The prince then took Naruto's hand which was holding his arm. He sat on the chair beside the bed and stared at the silent boy. All of a sudden, the smaller boy hugged him. Naruto? I'm scared, Sasuke, he heard small sobs. Shish. He embraced the blonde and caressed him gently. Don't cry, it's gonna be alright. The kitsune leaned against Sasuke's chest, as if he was asking for more warmth. But, this is my first time having a baby. I'm afraid that I can't bear it. properly. Upon hearing this, the raven smiled and let out a small sigh. Well, at least he's not going to abort the baby or something, he thought happily, hugging the boy tighter. They cuddled each other until Naruto was asleep. Then, the taller guy slowly put the sleeping angel on the bed. He gazed at the enchanting view in front of him. He's really so beautiful. He sighed and brushed off some stray hairs from the boy's face, resting his cheek on his palm. But I'm still so happy that he actually accepted the fact that he's pregnant. He's only worried that he may not be able to take care of the baby. He's just so cute and innocent. He let out another sigh. Suddenly, the door creaked. Prince? Yeah. He got to his feet and walked towards the silver-haired man who was standing behind the door. Just leave him be for now. He'll wake up sooner or later. Hi. The two of them then walked out of the room, leaving Naruto to sleep peacefully. When they were outside, Sasuke leaned against the door and sighed again. Iruka, who had been waiting anxiously, noticed this and got even more worried. He quickly approached the prince. Kakashi stood beside him, also slightly worried. What happened? The brunette asked. Naruto. The raven looked up and a small smile was seen on his face. He accepted the baby. The scarred man could not help but to cry happily, thank God. But, he's worried that he can't take care of the baby. He continued. I really don't know about pregnancy. But I think his mental condition is somewhat critical now. I'm worried that the baby will be miscarried if he's overly stressed. Just thinking about that makes me want to die. Both men stared at the prince who had his face hidden behind his bangs so that no one could see or hear him crying. The brunette felt sorry for him. Indeed, he was worried about the blonde as well, but he knew Sasuke would be more worried as he is the boy's lover. He thought for a solution, then he suddenly got an idea. Don't worry about that, I'll make sure he will be okay, he said. Huh? The silver-haired man stared him. Are you sure you can do that? Of course, he beamed. He is my little boy after all. What do you have in mind actually? Kakashi asked. He smiled. Something. But really, Naruto will be just fine. I'm counting on you then, Iruka. Sasuke smiled again. Hi. It had been 2 days since the blonde was allowed to return to the castle. He was very grateful that he got a very caring guardian and a very loving lover who were always there for him when he needed it. His brother, however, had not found out about his pregnancy yet, for the redhead was busy on helping his boyfriend at the castle. Nay, Sasuke. Wouldn't our brothers be shocked when they found out that I'm pregnant? He snuggled closer to the raven's shoulder when the word pregnant was pronounced. Well. The prince smiled. I think they will. But wouldn't it be fun then? Seeing their freaked-off faces when they know that you're bearing my cute little baby. Or babies. Naruto blushed and playfully hit Sasuke's shoulder. It's only one, okay. But I guess you're right, it will be fun. He then sighed and held his lover's arm tighter, being as closely as possible to the taller guy. The raven only smirked as he wrapped his hand around the smaller boy's waist lovingly. Meanwhile, the brunette who had been walking behind them only smiled at the happy sight. He then turned to the silver-haired man beside him. They're really happy together, aren't they? The taller man nodded. It's really been a while since Prince Sasuke last showed his smile to anyone. I'm glad Naruto-kun managed to get him to smile again. Prince Sasuke is really important to you, isn't he, Kakashi-san? He asked. Yeah. Kakashi let out a small sigh. Actually. The whole Uchiha family is very important to me. If it's not for what Fugaku-sama had done to me, I really don't know where I would be living right now. That's why, I'm truly happy if something great happens to anyone of the royal family. Sorry to make you listen to me. I like hearing to your story. Later in the castle. Nandayo. Calm down, Aniki. Kami-sama. The redhead gasped. You're pregnant? What the hell? What did you do to my brother, bastard? Aniki. I can't believe this, it's not true, Aniki. No, tell me this isn't happening, Aniki. Nani? Would you just shut up? The blonde yelled. Look, my pregnancy is no one's fault. I'm a hermaphrodite, or in simpler words, I'm both male and female. That's the reason why I can get pregnant. Now just get the hell out of here, Aniki. I'm getting all dizzy just seeing your face. Sasuke, please take me to our room. Demo. The kitsune glared at his brother. Q nodded, afraid of what the boy would do if he did not obey his words. Then, the blonde turned back to Sasuke with a pout. The raven only smiled quite forcefully as the smaller boy hugged his arm again and dragged him away. He mouthed an apology at the redhead. You know, it's really not nice to say something like that to your brother. But he's so annoying. He puffed out his cheeks. Naruto frowned and stopped, letting go of the prince's arm as he glared at him. So, what are you trying to state here? That he's right and I'm wrong? Great then, Sasuke. Why don't you just go to him and forget about me? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't mean that. Whatever, I'm not listening to you. Damn it. He immediately stormed off into his room and locked the door from inside, preventing Sasuke from being able to enter. Naruto. Open up. Shut up, Teme. He heard the harsh reply from inside. I hate you, Baka. Naruto's crying? And Naruto? Leave me alone, damn it. Naru. Are you crying? The guy asked. The boy inside stopped crying. How did you know? From your voice. The raven smiled slightly to himself. Will you let me in? There was no reply from the kitsune. Instead, the prince heard someone shuffling towards the door. Next, the door was unlocked and opened from inside. Then, he saw the boy's bloodshot eyes, pouting at the taller guy as he stood against the door. The male smiled again, this time genuinely towards the blonde and himself. Nani, you look cute when you're like that. Naruto blushed and looked away. Are you coming in or not? Yeah. Sasuke replied and stepped into the room. So, you're still mad at me? He sat on the side of the bed as the blonde slowly approached him and sat on his lap. Sighing, the smaller boy rested his head on the raven's shoulder. The prince caressed his hair, their fingers entwined with each other. Then, the taller guy moved his hand towards the kitsune's stomach and started rubbing it gently. When will he get out? He asked teasingly. Sasuke. HN. He smirked slightly. Feeling better now? The blonde smiled and nodded slightly. Yeah, nay, Sasuke. HN. Can I request for something? He asked. Yeah, what is it? Naruto pouted and blushed again. Actually. Can I have mango and strawberry ice cream now? Huh? You can't get it for me? The smaller boy stared at the raven. I.e., it's not like that. The taller guy replied. Demo. Why do you want such thing right now? The blonde just shrugged. I don't know, just feeling like getting one. The prince thought for a little while. Then, he got to his feet and told the kitsune to follow him. The both of them walked until they came across Kakashi and Iruka. The two men were having some sort of a conversation which somehow made both Sasuke and Naruto give them a weird look as they stared at each other. Kakashi? Sasuke. The silver-haired man tilted his head slightly. You guys cool now? Yeah. Can I ask you two a bit? What's wrong, Prince Sasuke? The brunette asked. The prince scratched his head slightly and glanced at the blonde who was standing outside the room. Well, it's like this. Naruto's asking for something. Quite weird. I'm just wondering, is it okay if he asks for such things? Oh, Iruka made a thoughtful face. You mean, he starts craving for something. It's actually pretty normal for a pregnant woman. Man, in this case. Anyways, it's really not something to be worried about. Just give him what he wants, and he'll be really happy. Trust me. Anyhow, what is it that he wants? Well, he wants, later. Is it still a long way from here? Don't worry, just keep walking, 'kay? But I'm so tired. The boy pouted. Can't we just use the horse carriage? The raven blinked a few times. You should have told me that earlier. Now we're already quite far away from the castle. The blonde stared at the taller guy. He pouted even more and held tighter onto his arm. The prince cocked a brow, but let the smaller boy cling to him. Kakashi and Iruka just watched them, smiling at each other happily. The four of them continued to walk until they reached a huge candy shop on one side of the street. Let's check that shop, Sasuke said. Yosh. They all went into the shop. After buying a tub of mango ice cream and another tub of strawberry ice cream, they started walking back to the castle. All the way there, Naruto ate some of the ice creams. The other three males just let him be, not wanting him to get furious and all. After all, the boy was pregnant. Nay, Sasuke? HN. Arigato gozaimasu, he smiled at his lover. And Gomen for troubling you just to get me these. It's okay, as long as you're happy, the prince smiled back. The blonde kissed the raven's cheek lightly. Aishiteru, Sasuke. Aishiteru. Iruka-sensei. Iruka-sensei. Where are you? Iruka-sensei. What's wrong, Naruto? Iruka-sensei, there you are. The kitsune beamed. Can you accompany me today? Huh? Where are you going? The man asked, blinking a few times. The boy, however, had latched himself to the brunette's arm. Come on, let's go somewhere fun. Nani. The blonde pulled the poor guy towards the castle gate. Then, the both of them went out to the town. Once they got there, the two of them started wandering around town. With Iruka only wearing a plain olive green tee with a pair of black slacks and Naruto wearing an orange racerback and a pair of black shorts. Naruto. I think we should head back to the castle and wear better clothes, the man said. Suddenly, the boy stopped and turned around with puppy-eyed face. You mean? You don't want to accompany me today? He quivered his lips falsely, a small fake tear running down his whiskered cheek. Demo. I just wanted to buy some new clothes, he pouted, to give a surprise to Sasuke. But you don't wanna. You don't wanna accompany me. Woo. Shish, don't cry, please. The brunette quickly calmed the sobbing boy down. Will you follow me then? Iruka-sensei. Iruka frowned slightly. Okay, but just for a while. Kakashi said he has. Don't worry, the blonde immediately smiled. I've already told him. Little schemer. Later. Let's go into that shop. Okay, Nandayo? Before he managed to stop the boy, he was pulled into the shop, a shopping mall, to be precise. To make it worse, the blonde pulled him immediately towards the female section. He blushed like mad when all the eyes around the area stared at the both of them. The kitsune, on the other hand, paid no attention to anyone. Nay, Iruka-sensei. He took a dress and placed it in front of him. Do you think this will look good on me? Naruto, that's a dress. I know, what do you think about it? The boy asked again. Still blushing, Iruka looked at the attire. It was quite cute actually, looked very much like a French maid's dress, except that it was peachy orange in color and the huge bow on the chest was pink. The puffy short sleeves were also peach in color, with white frills and a tiny pink bow at the end. The apron was also white and frilly. It's really slutty. The man could not help but to think that when he realized how short the skirt was and how tight-fitting the dress was. I think. The dress is. Okay, thanks, I'll try it now, Nani? With just a blink, the blonde was already out of sight. The brunette sighed and waited for the kitsune in front of the dressing room. He blushed and sweated again when the pair of eyes on his left and right, and back, watched him like a hawk. He gulped and prayed timidly in his heart so that Naruto would change faster. Ta-da! A few minutes later, the boy came out of the dressing room wearing the dress. What do you think? It's too short, Naruto, the man replied, blushing slightly. That's the point. Then I can seduce Sasuke-kun and we can have. His loud mouth was immediately cupped by a pair of tanned hands. Gomenasai ne, Mingnant. And I'm in charge to take care of her right now. Ohs and ahs were heard then. All the ladies smiled at the two of them before continuing on their shopping. Sighing in relief, Iruka let go of Naruto's mouth and shot him a glare. A pitiful one, actually. He then told the kitsune to quickly change back to his regular clothes. After paying for the dress, the both of them went straight home. Yada. Now for plan 2. Sasuke-kun, wait for me tonight. That night. Naruto. Stop it, untie me now. Nah, not until I give you the surprise. So, that's why you were gone to town with Iruka earlier, nay? The raven stood by the door, smirking with his eyes being blindfolded and his hands being tied. Yesh. The blonde purred and licked the prince's earlobe. Follow me if you want it, Sasuke-kun. HN. The boy then brought the taller guy towards the bed and asked him to sit. Doing as told, Sasuke took his seat by the bed and waited. Slowly, he felt someone straddling on his lap. Smirking again, he reached for the blonde's cheek with both hands, but he was stopped by a pair of hands. Then, he felt something frilly brushed his arm. Sasuke-sama. Naruto purred again and started sucking the long slender fingers. "HN. You're trying to seduce me. Naru-chan." Hearing this, the kitsune bit the raven's digits playfully. He then let go of the fingers and kissed the other male, moaning delightfully into the kiss as their tongues came in contact with each other. While they were engulfed with each other, the blonde slowly untied the taller guy's blindfold and wrapped himself around the prince. After about a minute, they broke apart for air, leaving a trail of saliva on the boy's chin. Panting slightly, he smiled and get off Sasuke to give him a full view of what he was wearing. The raven saw this and blushed slightly, a smirk forming on his face. Naruto, on the other hand, bit his lower lip lustfully as he gazed at the taller guy. "Sasuke-sama. Don't you want to have me? Ah, Sasu." Unknowingly, the cloth tying the raven's hand loosened. He smirked and looked up at the blonde who was too preoccupied with the dance that he did not notice what was happening. Slowly, Sasuke's hands made their way out of the cloth. Meanwhile, Naruto opened his eyes slowly and was suddenly pounced by the taller guy. "Kya? No. Sasuke. Ah, Sasuke Teme," the boy screamed in a girly voice. "What's wrong, Koi?" The raven hovered over him, smirking hungrily. "You're afraid, girly boy." "Shut up, Teme." The prince chuckled and started untying the huge bow before he undressed the smaller boy. Leaving the blonde half-naked beneath him, Sasuke leaned in and touched their lips together. The kitsune started to moan into the kiss, and a small mule escaped from his mouth when the raven's finger brushed against his perked nub. "Ah. Suke." Naruto moaned as the taller guy sucked on his neck, biting his sensitive spot slightly. Ah. Smirking, the brunette then went down towards the hidden nubs and licked one from under the cloth. The boy gasped and arched his back beautifully, letting a small delightful moan escape from his mouth. His skirt was already showing all of his thighs, and only a few more millimeters, his cute ass and groin would be exposed. "Sasuke. Oh onegai. Nah, Naru-chan. Take me. Now. Please," he pleaded, not caring if he sounded too inviting. Sasuke smirked again. "Whatever you say, Naru-koi." Still, he did not make any move to enter the smaller boy. Instead, he went further down towards the blonde's skirt and flipped it up so that his aching member was revealed. He smirked once more when he found out that nothing was really hiding the shaft away, except for the piece of skirt and the apron on top of it. "You're such a slut." He looked up at the kitsune, who just blushed in return. A really cute one. Without any warning, he grabbed Naruto's manhood and gave it a light squeeze, receiving a gasp from the startled boy. Still smirking, the raven gave the head a lick and scraped his teeth on it slightly. Enjoying the sounds the wriggling boy made, he started sucking the shaft. The blonde could not help but to moan loudly. Ah. Suke." He croaked the other male's name. I'm coming, ah." With that, he emptied his load inside the prince's mouth. Drinking all of it, Sasuke licked his lip to make sure none was left before he got to his knees again. He stared at the panting boy underneath him and gave him a kiss on his jawline before preparing himself. Sucking on his digits, he put one of them into the tight hole. "Ah." The kitsune gasped again, feeling his limp member coming back to life. He gazed into the raven's eyes as the taller guy continued to finger fuck him. Adding another 2 fingers, he went on with his rhythm until the blonde suddenly gasped and arched his back. Found it. With that, he thrust it at the same spot a few more times. Suke. Ah. The brunette looked down and noticed that the kitsune was staring back at him, a mischievous smile plastered on his face as he continued to tweak on the nub. Smirking back, Sasuke leaned down and started kissing the smaller boy hungrily. The two of them exchanged as much saliva with each other as possible before breaking apart for air. "Enter me now, Sasuke." The blonde pouted lustfully. "I want you to be inside me. To ram into me. Right now. Make me scream, Sasuke. Make me scream your name. Sasuke. I want you right now." "What about the baby? It'll be fine. Just take me now." The boy pulled him for another kiss. After the kiss, Sasuke positioned his aching member so that it was right in front of Naruto's entrance. Without hesitating, He thrusted himself into the blonde. Screaming out loud, the kitsune wrapped his arms around the raven's neck and scratched his shoulder a little. A tear flowed down his face as the pain engulfed his body and mind. Gomenasai. Was I being too rough? It's just that. The boy gulped and smiled at the taller guy. I'm not used to the sudden move yet. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Why, you can start moving now. With that, the prince started ramming into the smaller boy, whom just moaned and mewed loudly every time the hard shaft hit his prostate. He arched his back a few times, giving the brunette an area to be sucked to stop himself from moaning as well. After what seemed like forever, Naruto felt his orgasm coming close. Sook, I'm calm, Sasuke, ngh. I love you, Sasuke. Love you too, Naruto. Naruto-kun, can I have a talk with you for a while? The blonde turned around and met eyes with the silver-haired man. Oh, it's you, Kakashi-sensei. He smiled and got to his feet, walking towards the masked man as he brushed invisible dust off his pants. What is it that you want to talk to me about? It's been 4 months since you got pregnant, am I right? He asked, smiling sweetly as not to get the boy furious or something. The kitsune tilted his head and beamed. Hi. That's good, Kakashi nodded, showing an amused expression through his eyes. Actually, it's like this. Iruka-san had been complaining and whining about this for days, you know. He said, once a pregnant person had carried her, or in your case, his baby for 4 months or something like that, or he has to go for a checkup. A checkup? Naruto asked, a bit unsure of the man's words. Is it going to hurt? I don't really know. But one thing I know, you'll get to scan the baby as well. He smiled again, knowing that would get the blonde's attention. R1 underscore? Later. Nay, Sasuke, HN. Are you free tomorrow? The boy asked as he leaned over the taller guy and hugged his neck from behind. HN. The prince looked up and kissed the blonde's forehead, closing the book he was reading. Yeah, I guess so. Why do you ask, Koibito? Naruto giggled slightly and went to sit on Sasuke's lap. I just want you to accompany me to see the doctor, earring the faces together so that their foreheads touched. Can you, Sasuke? Why are we going there? Well, Iruka-sensei told Kakashi-sensei to tell me to tell you that I should go for a checkup cause I'm already pregnant for 4 months and it's the best time to go for my checkup, and also we can have our baby scanned tomorrow, he explained quickly, smiling at the raven. In which means we get to determine whether we're having a boy or a girl, is that it? The brunette whispered to his ear, nipping on the lobe slightly. I can't wait to know. Sasuke, HN. You'll go with me tomorrow, right? He asked, kissing the other male's forehead. The guy nodded. Hi. Arigato, Sasuke. He leaned closer towards the raven's face. I love you. Love you too. Underscore. The next day. Naruto, are you ready yet? Just a sec. About 5 minutes later, the blonde came out of the room, wearing a peachy orange spaghetti strap dress and a pair of orange flip-flops. He smiled as Sasuke gave him an odd look, cocking his brow as he blinked a few times. Wrapping his arms around the taller guy's arm, he just grinned and kissed him lightly on the cheek. You're even acting like a girl, you know. I know. He beamed as they walked along the street. Northeast. Sasuke-kun? Before we go to the clinic, can you get me some chocolate sundae, please? I'm craving for it right now. Upon hearing that, the raven let out a small sigh. Whatever you say, Dobi. Yay. Aishiteru. Sasuke-kun. All the people on the street, which mostly were women, just smiled at the couple when they noticed the slight bulge on the girl's stomach. Sasuke let out a small sigh as he dragged the blonde, who was practically clinging to him, as he walked towards a nearby ice cream stall. The ice cream man smiled as they approached his stall. Your girlfriend? Sorta. The raven replied, snorting slightly. 2 cups of sundae, please. 1 chocolate, 1 vanilla. Okay. The man nodded and moved to prepare the sundae. A few minutes later, he returned with the orders. After paying for them, the two of them went on towards the clinic. When they reached the clinic, they were greeted by a few nurses who already knew about Naruto's unique pregnancy. They were then brought by one of the nurses towards a room. After a few minutes waiting, a female doctor entered the room. Ohio, Uchiha-sama, She bowed slightly at the prince. Ohio, Naruto-kun. So, how are you feeling today? I'm great. The kitsune replied excitedly. Only with a slight dizziness this morning, but other than that, I'm feeling superb. Anyways, Iruka-sensei told Kakashi-sensei to tell me to tell Sasuke to bring me here so that I can get my monthly checkup and also scan my baby. Can you do that, Iruka-sensei? Can you, please? I really want to see my baby. Okay, calm down. First of all, we need to check you first, Naruto-kun. Now, lie on the bed, please. The doctor smiled, pinching the boy's chubby cheek slightly. The raven cocked his brow slightly as he leaned against the window pane. He watched as the doctor lifted the blonde's tee, exposing his bulging belly. Frowning, he shifted his body slightly as the woman started running her hand around the stomach. Surely, it had been a few times he had brought his lover to the clinic for checkups, yet he just could not help but to feel jealous when the doctor laid her hands on the boy. Well, looks like the both of you are in good condition, she smiled at Naruto again. Now let's take a scan of your baby. Then, she poured some kind of a lotion onto her palms and began massaging the kitsune's stomach. He giggled slightly as the cool liquid tickled him. Upon hearing that, Sasuke let out a small sigh and walked towards the lying boy. He noticed the taller guy walking towards him and grinned slightly, then giggled again. What's so funny, Dobie? Nothing is, he giggled. It's just that, the lotion is tickling my tummy. I just can't help it. After a few seconds, the doctor then took a device and started running it on the blonde's bulging stomach. Both males stared at her as she did her work. She smiled at them and gestured for them to look at the screen beside her. Naruto turned to the screen and squealed delightfully, clenching the raven's hand tightly. Kami-sama. Is that our baby, Sasuke? Kawaii desu ne, Sasuke-kun? He squealed again. The woman smiled again. Omodet ne. You got a baby boy. Yada. The boy squealed once more. Oh, look, he's smiling at us. Wow, he really is. The prince could not help but to smile when he looked at the screen. Later, they bid the doctor goodbye and walked back home side by side, hand in hand. Every now and then, Naruto would stop and either kiss Sasuke's cheek, smile at him or leaned against him. The taller guy let him do so as he too was very happy to have known his baby's gender and was truly overjoyed to have a boy as his first child. You know, Naru-koi, he spoke as the smaller boy kissed his cheek again. We should celebrate and tell everyone about this. Yosh. That's a great idea. Arigato gozaimasu, Sasuke. I love you very much. The blonde hugged the raven. Love you too, Naruto. Oi, Itachi, Itachi, wake up. The redhead shook him again. Damn it, wake up you lazy ass. The raven blinked a few times and stared at the green-eyed guy's face. He then got up slowly and let out a small yawn. He pouted, slightly and turned to the shorter guy who just rolled his eyes and started making the bed, too. Seeing no movement from the raven, the spectacled guy let out an annoyed sigh and pushed him off the bed. Go and get your bath now, Itachi, he said, continuing to make the bed. We've something very important to do today if you don't remember. Like what? I'll tell you about it again after you take your bath, he replied. Itachi nodded like a little boy and got to his feet. He then stared at the smaller guy's ass and smirked, approaching him slowly. Grabbing the redhead from behind, he started nipping the other male's ear. Frowning and blushing slightly, the spectacled guy glared at the raven from the corner of his eyes. Don't you dare, Itachi. Come on ne, Kyuubi-chan. He pouted and hugged Kyuubi tighter, resting his chin on the redhead's shoulder. Don't, the guy repeated sternly. We've something very important to do and I don't want to be walking around town limply. The taller guy, still pouting, turned his boyfriend around. A good morning kiss then? Fine, but just one small kiss, okay. Smirking slightly, Itachi leaned over and pressed his lips on the smaller guy's red ones, his arms still wrapped protectively around the male's waist. The redhead blushed slightly but responded nevertheless, moaning slightly into the kiss as the raven parted his lips and nibbled on the guy's lower lip hungrily. Kyuubi quickly parted their lips apart. I told you already, just a small kiss. The taller guy huffed. You can be such meanie at times, you know? I know, now go and take your bath. Sighing, The prince then walked slowly towards the bathroom, pretending to be a helpless little boy. The redhead just rolled his eyes and pretended he did not see the puppy-eyed look on his boyfriend's face. When the male was gone, Kyubi let out a small sigh and started changing his clothes. 3. When Itachi got out of the bathroom, he found out that the shorter guy was wearing a fine attire. He put on an olive green buttoned-up shirt with a white muscle shirt underneath and a pair of black jeans. His shoulder-length red hair was tied up in a ponytail. The raven blinked and stared at his lover. "Nani? HN?" He blinked again. And nothing. The redhead gave him a look. "Go and wear your clothes, we gotta hurry." What for?" he asked. "Just wear it, I'll tell you on the way." With that, Kyubi went out of the room, leaving the raven alone. Scratching his head, the prince stared at the clothes prepared for him and furrowed his brows questioningly. He shook his head and started to get dressed. He wore a black shi with a black net shirt underneath and a pair of black jeans. "I wonder what he's up to now, Later. So, where exactly are we going right now?" "The town center," the redhead replied briefly. "Before you go and ask why, I should tell you about what we were talking about yesterday. I bet you just couldn't remember it, knowing that you're too sleepy to even listen to my words last night." "Okay. So? Well, with Naruto getting pregnant and Sasuke being a prince, there's just no way no one would notice it. They'll know about it sooner or later, so I decided to tell everyone about Naruto's condition now. Like it or not, they'll have to accept it since Sasuke is their prince. Nevertheless, I'm still worried about your parents' reaction." Hearing that, Itachi nodded and smiled. "Don't worry, I'm sure they'll understand. Besides, Naruto can have babies, that means there'll be no reason for them not to accept him. One more thing, I'm also in a relationship with you, so they can't just say anything without having the both of us, Sasuke and I, being pissed off." "Now you're acting like a man." Kyubi smirked. "Oh, aren't I always?" the raven mocked. "Or do you want me to demonstrate it to you right now?" "HN. Not now, Itachi-sama." The two of them continued to tease each other until they reached the town center. Then, the prince got onto the stage and turned on the microphone. All the people around the town turned their attention to his voice once the blaring sound from the microphone on the speakers all around the place was heard. "People of Konohagakure, this is your prince, Uchiha Itachi, and I've a very important announcement to make. First of all, I'd like to tell you all that both my brother, Prince Sasuke, and I are homos. If this disgusts you in any way, just get out of this place. Secondly, my brother's lover named Uzumaki Naruto is actually a hermaphrodite and he is now pregnant with Prince Sasuke's baby. That is all, thank you." "Good one, Prince Itachi." Kyubi rolled his eyes. "Now we should just wait and see the people's reactions." "Kami-sama, what a tiring day." The redhead gave his boyfriend a stare. "You know, it's not even noon yet and you're already complaining like we had a very exhausting day." "But it was an exhausting day, Kyubi." The raven rolled over and pouted. "I mean, just a few seconds after I made the announcement, all the townsfolk gathered around us and started asking thousands of questions. We're lucky they were not against homo relationships." "We are." The shorter of the two suddenly smirked. "Yeah, no. Why don't you just stay here for a while? I'll go and make us some refreshment, nay?" "HN. Okay." Kyubi then silently left the room, leaving the taller guy to rest on the bed for a little while. The prince, however, felt very weird about the sudden change in his boyfriend's attitude. He decided to think about it and ended up sitting on the bed with his legs crossed and one of his elbow on his knee, his cheek resting on his hand. He remained like that until a few minutes later when a knock was heard on the door. "Come in." When the door was opened, the raven got the shock of his life. In front of him stood a red-haired boy wearing a French-made attire. The outfit was tight, hugging the person everywhere possible. His nape-length hair was tied into one ponytail, giving him more of the feminine look. His lime-green eyes were sparkling as there were no spectacles to hide them. Kyubi. The redhead tilted his head slightly and licked his lower lip seductively. His ruffled miniskirt moved as he changed his position slightly. Approaching the taller guy slowly, he slowly bent down when he accidentally dropped a hairpin. The prince gulped and thought about how lucky he was that he was not facing the boy's butt, which was high in the air. He could see the baby blue panty underneath the short skirt, though. Kyubi. The guy felt his pants getting tighter. What are you wearing? Don't you like it, Itachi-sama? The redhead pouted slightly and sat down between Itachi's legs, which were already at the side of the bed. Ah. Looks like you're already having a problem down here, don't you? He rubbed his nose at the clothed erection, earning a muffled moan and a shudder from the raven. Smirking, he slowly parted his lips and kissed the place where he thought the head would be. This made Itachi whimpered slightly. Kyuubi smirked wider and pulled down the zipper of the pants with his teeth, releasing the caged member which was throbbing like crazy. You're already wet, Itachi-sama. Want me to clean it up? Q. Holding the huge manhood, the redhead gave it a small lick. The raven shuddered again, holding his lover's head as he threw back his head with a low moan. The smaller boy started to suck deeper, causing a longer moan to escape the prince's mouth. Slowly, he started bobbing his head up and down the length. At the same time, his free hand reached for his own erection. MN. You're so big, Tachi. MN. Kyuubi. You're also having problems down here, aren't you, Q-chan? NH. The smaller boy shuddered a bit when his boyfriend cupped his manhood. His eyes were shut tightly and his teeth were gritted closely together as the taller guy started rubbing his aching member with the satin skirt he was wearing. He then let out a gasp and shot his eyes open when Itachi threw him on the bed and straddled on him. The prince then crashed their lips together. MN. NN. The raven then cupped the redhead's shaft again, causing him to gasp once more. Immediately, Itachi slipped his tongue into the hot cavern. Kyuubi moaned into the kiss as his boyfriend ran his tongue all around the nooks and crannies of his mouth. All the while, the taller guy continued to rub the boy's shaft. After about half a minute, they broke apart for air and Itachi started attacking Kyuubi's sensitive neck. Ah. Ta-kai. NN. The prince sucked the skin a few times, leaving small yet visible hickeys here and there. Then, he sucked the redhead's most sensitive spot hard, causing the smaller boy to gasp and arch his body beautifully. After making a big mark on the skin, the raven immediately spread the boy's legs out. He then put two of his digits in front of his boyfriend's mouth, ordering him to suck them. Following his lover's command, Kyuubi slowly sucked the fingers, wetting them thoroughly. After that, Itachi pulled his digits out and placed them in front of the redhead's awaiting entrance. Slowly but surely, he inserted one digit into the hole. After a few thrusts, he put in the second digit and started making scissoring motion to enlarge the smaller boy's tiny entrance. No already. Put it in. Upon hearing this, Itachi took out his fingers and positioned his huge member in front of the minute hole. You're ready, Koibito? MN. Slowly, the raven pushed into the redhead. Wrapping his arms loosely around the taller guy's neck, Kyuubi let out a whimper as he arched his back. The prince continued his slow motion until he hit the boy's sweet spot, causing him to let out a high moan and arched his back even more. With this signal, Itachi started going faster and faster. He made sure he hit the same spot with each thrust. Ah, NN. Ta-kai. Ah, NN. After what seemed forever, Kyuubi released his seeds onto their stomachs, dirtying their clothes as well. Then, the prince rolled him over so that he was on his chest and started ramming into him like crazy. This made the redhead hard again. He continued to moan and whimper until the both of them emptied their load, Kyuubi on the bed and Itachi inside Kyuubi. I love you, Kyuubi. Love you too, nay, Sasuke. HN. You know. The blonde rolled over so that he was lying beside the raven. I've noticed something different when I went out to town with Iruka-sensei earlier. The people on the streets were all staring at me like I was some kind of an alien. Then, a few of them came to me and congratulated me for having your baby and all. Sasuke, me? The taller guy just made a small HN sound. The kitsune looked up and pouted slightly, furrowing his brows. Smirking, Sasuke ruffled the smaller boy's golden hair and gave him a small playful kiss on the forehead, causing him to blush and hug the prince tighter. The two of them stayed in the same position until the door was suddenly knocked. Quickly, the raven got off the bed and walked towards the door and opened it to see a young maiden standing in front of his room. What is it? I'm sorry for disturbing you, Prince Sasuke. Actually, Kakashi-san sent me here, the green-haired girl said politely. He told me to tell you that His and Her Majesty would like to see you and your significant other this afternoon. HN. Is there anything else? The girl bowed and went away. Staring at the girl as she walked towards the corridor, Sasuke frowned. Indeed, it was peculiar when the townsfolk stared and congratulated his boyfriend for being pregnant with his child, but it was even odder when his own parents wanted to see him and the boy. Still frowning, he walked back into his room and stopped when he met eyes with his lover's blue ones. "What's wrong, Sasuke?" He just shook his head. "Nothing. I want to take a bath, want to join me?" Immediately, a pillow hit his head with a yell from the smaller boy, pervert. Later. Dobie, are you going to take forever in there? Just a few more minutes. The raven snorted slightly and waited for the blonde outside the room. Really? He's been like this since a few days ago. Not wanting me to see him while he's naked. It's not like I've never seen him without his clothes before. He's lucky to be pregnant, or else. As he continued to rant about the boy to himself, the kitsune got out of the room with a warm smile. "Sorry to make you wait," he attached himself to the taller guy's hand. "So, where are we heading to, Sasuke?" "His and Her Majesty called for us," Sasuke replied as he began to walk. Why is that?" He shrugged slightly. "I don't know. But I think it has something to do with our secret relationship." "Oh yeah? You didn't inform them about us, did you?" The blonde shook his head. "That's no good. You should always tell your parents if you are having any relationship with anyone. If not, they'll be pissed off if they find out about it." "Oh god. They found out, didn't they?" "Yes, my darling Naruto." At this, Naruto gulped and blinked a few times, not knowing what to do. The raven stared at his lover and a sudden tinge of mercy appeared in his heart. He reached for Naruto's arm and rubbed it slowly, smiling slightly at the boy when he looked at the prince. Smiling back weakly, the kitsune let out a small sigh and leaned against the taller guy. "Nay, Sasuke. What would you do if they disapprove our relationship?" the blonde asked as they continued to walk. "I'll defend you. No matter what I've to do, I'll be at your side. Even if my life will be risked, even if my honor will be lost. I'll always stand by you, that's a promise," Sasuke replied. "But it's better if we hope for the best, isn't it?" The boy smiled. "I guess you're right. That's more I like it." The two of them then walked until they finally reached the main hall. When they got into the room, the king and the queen were already waiting for them. Naruto clenched Sasuke's hand tightly all of a sudden, feeling nervous when he saw the king's stern look. The taller guy just rubbed his fingers against the boy's backhand to calm him down. "Sasuke, come here and bring your significant other as well," his mother spoke softly. "Hi, Ka-san." The raven then walked towards his parents, bringing his boyfriend along. The blonde was shivering slightly as he walked closely behind the prince. When he met eyes with the king's stern ones again, he flinched slightly. Sasuke noticed this and rubbed against the kitsune's knuckles, trying to calm him down again. The two of them stopped right when they have reached the bottom of the stairs. "So, this is your lover, Hi, To-san." The raven nodded, looking down. Naruto noticed the sudden change in his lover's voice. Usually, his voice was deep and full of confidence, but then when he replied to his father, his voice was slow and he even stuttered a bit. The fact that even the usually boastful Sasuke lost his confidence in front of the king made the boy more afraid and started to tremble more rapidly. Suddenly, the queen laughed. "En-nan Desuka?" The blonde furrowed slightly, blushing. Gomen. The brunette muffled her laugh with her hand. "It's just that. You look cute when you're trembling and stuttering. And you're even cuter when you're blushing. Ne Fugaku, what do you think?" She smiled at the king. The man was still frowning, but his expression became slightly softer. "It's up to you." He then turned back to Naruto, and noticed the bulge on his stomach. "Are you pregnant?" At this, the blonde widened his eyes and turned to Sasuke. The raven, though was still shaking a little, nodded to him and pressed hard yet gently against his hand. Gulping, the boy turned back to the king, looked down and nodded a little. The queen started to giggle again, muffling her voice apologetically as she gestured for them to go on with the conversation. "How can you be pregnant when you're a boy?" The boy tried to speak, but his throat suddenly felt dry. "He's not exactly a boy, To-san," Sasuke spoke all of a sudden. "He's a hermaphrodite. Nevertheless, I love him with all my heart and am willing to give my life and everything for him. If you are going to hurt him in any way possible, then I would have no choice but to be against you and this kingdom as well." And I am not backing away from my words. The king gave him a surprised stare, then he suddenly broke into a throaty laughter. Both Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other in confusion. The raven was more surprised as he had never heard his father's laughter in his whole life before. Upon seeing this, the middle-aged man laughed more and finally stopped after coughing a few times. Your words are very brave, Sasuke. He smirked. But I wasn't even planning to harm your lover. It actually fascinated me that he, having a boy's appearance, can carry a baby. What is your name, boy? He asked the blonde. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto-kun, nay? Or should I call you Naruto-chan? The queen asked. The kitsune blushed. Naruto-kun's fine. Later, they found out that it was Itachi's fault that the king and the queen found out about their relationship and the baby that Naruto was carrying. By that night, the older prince had an ugly bruise on his right eye and a huge scratch on his arm as a result of being punched by his brother and being scarred by the younger raven's boyfriend. Serves you right. You know, I'm wondering. How much longer will it take for you to finally deliver? Huh? The kitsune made a face. And why is that? Just wondering. The raven shrugged. Cocking a brow, the boy stared at his lover weirdly. It was odd that the usually cold and heartless bastard actually cared about their baby. Not that he was not happy, though. It was just peculiar. Still, he shrugged it off and decided to focus on his work, which was doing some paperworks for the prince as he was extremely exhausted to do them on his own. How about we go for a walk after this, Naruto? The taller guy suddenly suggested. Again, Naruto cocked a surprised brow. If you might not notice, I am 6 months pregnant, Uchiha. How would you expect me to go out for a walk with a giant tummy like this? It'll be a good exercise, you know. I'm not going anywhere, Uchiha. He frowned, ignoring the raven. Unexpectedly, the Uchiha pouted. You can be quite a jerk, sometimes. Say that again and I'll shove my feet into your mouth. Shouldn't it be foot? Yes. The boy rolled his eyes. But I'll shove both of my feet into your mouth. And up your sorry ass as well if you don't immediately. At this, the taller guy coughed and immediately went out of the room, leaving the kitsune alone in peace as he continued with his work. On the other hand, the prince was wandering alone around the castle as he tried to find something interesting to do. As he walked near his brother's room, he suddenly was shocked by his brother who flew out of the room. Eniki. Then, out came a very furious Kyuubi. What the hell did you do to me, you motherfucking Uchiha? A huge anime sweat appeared on the younger prince's head. I really shouldn't be here right now. Before he could sneak away, the redhead noticed him and yelled something that he was not really sure what it meant really. Then, to his surprise, the taller guy suddenly picked him up by the back of his collar. Startled, he started struggling like a little cat. Nandio. Let me go. Darn it. Shut up, you wretched little monster. Kyuubi retorted. This is all your fucking brother's fault, Sasuke. What did he do? The raven asked, puzzled. At this, the redhead snorted. Why don't you ask the motherfucker himself? The prince then turned to his brother who was slowly getting up from the ground where he was thrown to. He made a face and rolled his eyes as he approached the two of them. He then let out a small annoyed sigh as he rubbed the back of his head as if he was trying to find the right thing to be said. Suddenly, Kyuubi cleared his throat, in a very dangerous way. Actually, it's like this. The older raven began, sighing. This morning, we went to the clinic after Kyuubi kept having nausea in the mornings these few days. When we got there, the doctor checked him up. And to our surprise, he was also pregnant. At the word pregnant, Sasuke's eyes were as big as saucers, maybe even bigger as his jaws hung from his mouth. On the other hand, the redhead was already grumbling dangerously as he glared at the other raven furiously. Then, the smaller raven quickly coughed to attract the two males' attentions. Indeed, the two of them turned to him once they heard his cough. You know, I think it's better if we just cool down, he stated coolly. Besides, I don't see the wrongness of having a baby. I myself am very happy to know that my lover, the one whom I thought would not be able to bear a child for my generation, is actually having a baby. That thought actually really made me happy. And I'm sure that my brother is very happy as well. All of a sudden, a small chuckle was heard from the older prince. You really have changed much, oh Tuto. I don't know. Kyuubi suddenly said softly. It's just from my point of view. Sasuke smiled slightly as he began to walk away. It's up to you to make the decision. I think I'll keep the baby. I said I'll keep the baby, darn it. The redhead smacked the raven's head, blushing slightly. The prince smiled. Arigato. Aishiteru, Kyuubi-chan. It's already the 9th month, when are you going to deliver, Naruto? For the nth time, Teme, the kitsune glared. I don't know. The raven pouted, much to the boy's dismay. He just rolled his eyes and waddled himself out of the room, since he could not walk properly because of the huge tummy he was currently possessing. As he walked, he touched his stomach and furrowed his brows. No, it was not because he did not want the baby, he was just afraid of how he would deliver the baby. Hey, Naruto-kun. The blonde looked to his back. Oh, Itachi ni, hi. The raven cocked a brow. What's wrong? You don't seem too happy. Well, he turned to his baby again. Is it about the baby? Something like that. He sighed. Itachi furrowed his brows slightly. Did you fight with Sasuke? He didn't want the baby or something? It's not like that, Naruto quickly replied. It's just, I'm scared. Of what? Delivering the baby. He caressed his tummy again. Wanna tell me about it? Well, you know it's already the 9th month of my pregnancy, right? He asked and Itachi nodded. Sasuke had been bugging me all day long, asking about the delivery of the baby. And every time he would ask about it, I got more and more terrified. I mean, I know that he loves me. But what if? He loves the baby more than me. What if he only wants the baby? What if he would leave me after I deliver? The raven sighed. You know, I've been living with Sasuke since forever. Even though I don't really know him like you do, there are something about him that you don't know. Like his changes, you brought it in. Before you came, he was always an ego and stoical type of person. He rarely smiled, except when he was younger. He even hated me before. But why? Because to him, I was always better. Our parents used to compare the both of us, and he would always seem so tiny compared to me. That's why he hated me. So, he tried to be like me. Be a real Uchiha. Ego, stoic, ignorant. But you changed him. You are the light of his life. And I am very sure he won't use you to get the baby. Neither of you knew about your ability to get pregnant before, right? Yes, but still. He's just a little bit too excited upon knowing he would be a father soon. Itachi smiled slightly, patting Naruto's head. And I'm pretty sure that you're kinda excited to be a mother as well. The kitsune blushed slightly, but smiled nevertheless. I guess so. Arigato, Itachi ni. Shouldn't you go get Sasuke now? Okay, ya ne, Itachi ni. Later. Sasuke, where are you? Naruto. Sasuke. The blonde immediately threw himself into the raven's arms, not caring that he was 9 months pregnant. Here you are. Something wrong, Naruto-koi? The taller guy asked, caressing the boy's hair. The kitsune shook his head and gave a peck on his lover's lips. Nothing, I just wanna apologize cause I did something really bad at you just now, Sasuke. He then hugged the prince. Really? What did you do? Well, I thought you just wanted to use me to, get a baby. And I thought you would leave me alone after I gave birth. Naruto pouted slightly. But then, Itachi ni came along and told me that you really love me, and you wouldn't leave me for the baby, and you would always stay by my side. You're not mad at me, are you, Sasuke? He looked up and saw the stern look on Sasuke's face which made him wince slightly. I'm very mad at you. Demo. You've been a very naughty boy. The raven smirked. Therefore, you have to be punished. After the baby is born. The blonde noticed the glint of lust and evilness in his boyfriend's eyes. He pouted but played along with his little game, whining and complaining like a small kid on not wanting to get the punishment. Then, the both of them took a walk around the garden. Naruto was already ahead of Sasuke, chasing a butterfly that was fluttering nearby. All of a sudden, he cried out in pain. Naruto. The prince called and saw the boy on his knees on the ground, holding his stomach. Naruto, what's wrong? I think. My water broke, the kitsune spoke. The raven's eyes widened until they were big as saucers. Nani? So. Naruto, hold on, okay. You're gonna be fine. No, I'm not gonna be fine, Teme. The kitsune yelled, clenching the raven's hand tightly. Arg. The baby's killing me. I hate you so much, Sasuke. I hate you so much, damn it. I know, I love you too. It was not before long that the boy started screaming and panting and gasping for air as he tried his hardest to push the baby out through an opening which, weirdly enough, existed between his private area and his back. The midwife was very surprised to find out about it, but nevertheless, the baby came out from there and it was her job to make sure that the baby came out safely. Soon enough, the blonde was gasping and panting for air, not to mention, almost breaking his lover's hand, as he tried his hardest to push his baby out of the opening. Meanwhile, outside brothers were waiting impatiently for the baby to be birthed. The kitsune's brother would gasp and clench his lover's hand whenever he heard the boy cry out in pain. After a few minutes, suddenly the cries of a baby broke the not-so-silent atmosphere. The two older guys hugged each other in relief, with the redhead crying happily. On the other hand, Naruto was still panting slightly inside the room, but his face looked very happy to see the tiny little baby in front of him. Congratulating them, the doctor said that the baby was a boy. Ah. He looks just like me, Sasuke said, much to Naruto's surprise. Yeah. Oh, look. He's opening his eyes, the blonde said softly as the little boy opened his eyes, revealing a pair of azure eyes. He has my eyes. Very pretty. Arigato, Naruto koi. The raven said, kissing his lover's temple lovingly. Aishiteru. The kitsune just smiled back on return. Then, the midwife came back into the room and told Sasuke to come and see her. He nodded and went out of the room after giving a small kiss to both his lover and his baby. Naruto just watched as his boyfriend got out of the room, then he turned back to his boy who was currently nudging his chest and he looked like he was about to cry. Shish. Don't cry now, it's okay, he hushed the baby down. Meanwhile, as Sasuke got out of the room, he stopped for a moment when he noticed Naruto's brother and his own brother outside the room. He smiled and gestured for the both of them to enter the room. They smiled back and disappeared into the room. Then, the raven continued to follow the doctor until they reached a room which the prince presumed to be her room. Please have a seat, Prince Sasuke. HN. He made his trademark sound, sitting on one of the chairs. What is that you want to talk to me about, doctor? Actually, I wanted to ask you a question. All this while that you have been with Naruto-san, is there any opening between his private part and his anus? She asked, staring at the raven seriously. Nan Desuka. The doctor made a thoughtful face. When Naruto-san was in labor just now, there was actually an opening. It's a very rare case, and it usually happens only to hermaphrodites. Yet, Naruto-san, even though he is a hermaphrodite as well, he has never experienced period before. So this is the first case that has happened ever. So, well, it's the best if we take him in for medical checkups, to see what he really is. Inwardly, she winced. I won't let that happen, but, Prince Sasuke. You heard me, didn't you? He said in a low, warning tone as he got up the chair and went out of the room immediately. Meanwhile. He wants to eat, you know. Demo, just try and do so, his brother hissed, starting to get annoyed by his brother and the baby's crying. Wow, I've never thought that would happen. Then, the door was opened and the raven entered the room. Sasuke, is something wrong? The prince shook his head as he approached his lover. You can feed him, Naruto? I guess. Naruto grinned sheepishly. HN. The baby likes it, don't you think? Hey. Throw your dirty thoughts away, Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke smirked. HN. Fine by me. Uchiha Naruto. Upon hearing that name, the blonde immediately blushed and tried to change the subject. What do you think we should name him? Tsuki. Huh? Tsuki. Uchiha Tsuki. The taller guy repeated. Actually, I've thought about it for a while. If the baby's a brunette, I'll name him Tsuki, as he'll be the moon of this family. If he's a blonde, he'll be the sun, Taiyo, he shrugged. Sasuke. The raven blushed slightly. The blonde's eyes started to water as he smiled at his lover, letting out a small sigh. Tsuki-chan. The moon of this family. The bright little moon that will bring happiness to all of us. Arigato, Sasuke. Aishiteru. But Prince Sasuke. No means no. But, the doctor frowned slightly. Naruto-san is a very special person, if we don't. He was stopped by a death glare from the raven. Are we done here? Hi. The prince glared at her a little more before entering the room, slamming the door on her face. On the other hand, the three people occupying the room excluding the little sleeping angel, turned to him as soon as he went into the room. They all were surprised to see his slightly annoyed expression, but he immediately changed it back to his usual stoic face as he approached his lover. Hey there, he spoke softly, kissing the blonde's temple. How is my little lover and my littler baby? The boy pouted. Where were you just now? Just went off somewhere. Meanwhile, the redhead and his boyfriend decided to leave the couple alone with their baby. The both of them sneaked out of the room slowly, making sure the lovey-dovey pair would not hear them. When he was about to close the door, the blonde's brother glanced back into the room and flashed a small smile before shutting the door. Back to the room, the two were still gazing into each other's eyes. You're so beautiful, Naruto. The kitsune blushed and smiled slightly. Arigato, Sasuke. Don't stare at me like that, Uchiha Sasuke, the boy said all of a sudden. Fu-in. Immediately, Sasuke let go of Naruto's nub, and left him with a painful bite mark as he scraped his teeth violently against the nub. The raven winced inwardly as he saw the boy trying his hardest to bite back the cry, glaring angrily at the taller guy. He then started hushing the crying little boy, humming him a tune until he was finally silent and feeding from him again. He's very possessive, Sasuke snorted. Like father, like son, Sasuke. The Uchiha grimaced. And which part of me says I'm possessive? The part that obviously says, Naruto is all mine and I don't want him to be touched by anybody else. The boy rolled his eyes. And also the part that says, I'm going to kill all those who dare lay hand on my Naruto, even if it's my own baby. I know you so well, Prince Sasuke. The raven made another sound. Then, out of the blue, he felt like discussing the matter that the doctor had been bugging him with in the few days. Naruto, can I ask you something? The boy looked up from his baby. What is it? Can you tell me more about your family? My family? You've never told me about your family, the prince shrugged, taking a place on the bed as well. Well, there's nothing to be talked about, the blonde pouted slightly. Besides, why are you interested with my family all of a sudden? Just wondering. Naruto stared at Sasuke, a confused expression plastered on his face. He knew there was something that the guy was trying to hide from him. Yet, he ignored his curiosity and turned back his focus to his baby who had just finished feeding. He started burping the boy, then put him back to his crib where he slept peacefully. Only then he turned to the raven once more. So, what is it that you want to know? Stuffs, the raven said matter-of-factly. The boy made a thoughtful face. Well, as you might know, I'm an orphan. And I lost my parents when I was 3. Since then I am taken care by my brother and also Iruka-sensei. And, my brother told me that my father was your father's friend when they were younger, and he used to bring me here when I was still a baby. My mother was a fine young lady, like my brother said. That's all. The blonde cocked a brow. Yeah, why? Well, is there anything more that you haven't told me? Sasuke asked curiously. Like your family history and something like that. If you really want to know about my family history, it's better if you ask my brother. I will. So, Kyuubi ni, can I talk to you for a while? The redhead turned to the raven. Yeah, of course. In private, if possible, the younger prince said, staring at his brother with a meaningful look. The older one stared back before merely nodding and walking as much as he liked to drive his little brother up the wall. He knew very much when not to interrupt in his business. Still, he wanted to know what was it very secretive that he was not allowed to listen to as well. Despite how much he wanted to stay out of it, his curiosity overwhelmed him, so he decided to listen to them secretly. So, what is it, Sasuke? Kyuubi started. It's like this. The shorter of the two hesitated for a while. I talked to Naruto a while ago. And I asked him about his family. Which is yours as well. And I kinda asked him about the Uzumaki's history. But he told me that I should ask you about it. Why would you want to know about our family's history? Sasuke gulped mentally at the sight of a curious yet stern Kyuubi. Well, I just wanted to know why is that both you and Naruto can get pregnant. Since the doctor who helped Naruto to give birth said he's not really a hermaphrodite. So I guess you must be the same too. So I should have told you this earlier. The redhead sighed. Tell me what? The Uzumakis. What is it about the Uzumakis? You haven't heard about it? The taller one asked, receiving a mere head shaking from the prince. Basically, the Uzumakis were once known to be one of the strongest family in the land of Konoha. The leader of the family, who was our great-grandfather, created a formula one day when we were shortage of women in the clan. It is said that, when one consumes the formula, no matter what condition he or she is in, the person will have the ability to get pregnant. Are you saying that both you and Naruto took the formula in as well? The raven asked out of curiosity. Kyuubi stared at him for a while. No, I haven't finished the story yet. What happened was, as more and more of the male population of the Uzumaki clan consumed the formula, soon every single person in the clan has the ability to get pregnant. Even the babies that had not had even a taste of it. Soon enough, the clan grew and grew, but as they say, being too strong is not good, neither is being too weak. Who said that? I did. An anime sweat appeared on Sasuke's head. He knew his lover's brother could be childishly annoying at times, but he was not expecting something as sarcastic as what the redhead had just said. Sure, he had never heard of the saying, but who would really thought that it was created by the one who said it? Still, he just shrugged it off and listened to Kyuubi's story. One day 20 years ago, the whole clan was murdered by an assassin. It was said that the assassin was hired by His Highness. You mean, my father did that? The redhead shook his head, smiling slightly. Fortunately, no. It was his father, your grandfather. But why would he do such a thing? The raven frowned. Because if they outnumbered the Uchihas, they might took over the country. The two of them turned to the older Uchiha who decided he should step into the conversation as well. The younger prince stared at his brother with a thoughtful yet serious look. His brother was right, but that should not be the reason for it. At least he thought it was wrong. But what happened, had happened, and there was no way he could turn things around. But then, the assassin didn't kill one single Uzumaki. The redhead continued his story. She was the wife of the friend of the prince. She was our mother. And our father, Namikaze Minato, was the friend of your father, Uchiha Fugaku, who was the prince at that time. He told his father not to kill them, but His Highness insisted with the same reason. So, he asked for our mother to be spared. Or else he would kill himself and the country would be banished, the taller prince continued. At this, the smaller raven nodded, which brought the point why father wasn't mad when I told him Naruto's my lover. Exactly. Then, the blonde appeared behind the raven all of a sudden. Hey guys, what are you talking about? Dobi, what are you doing here? Hey. The boy pouted. What are you doing here talking to them? Teme, you should with me and our baby. HN. You miss me? Not at all. I'm just bored being alone inside the room with a silent sleeping baby, he replied quickly. The kitsune continued to talk until his boyfriend decided it was enough. He moved to the back of the blonde and lifted him bridal-styled, much to the boy's surprise. He blushed, speechless as the raven carried him back to his room. The other two, on the other hand, just sighed and smiled as they watched the both of them went away towards the room. I think Sasuke's gonna get the real explanation from you father, the redhead said when both the blonde and the raven was out of sight. I guess. The prince shrugged. He's always like that. But I'm really glad that father let us be with the both of you. The shorter guy chuckled. Yeah, I love you, Itachi. Love you too, Q-chan, _ Meanwhile, you've gained some weight after pregnancy, Naruto. The boy pouted. Not my fault for eating too much, Teme. It was your order if you don't remember. HN. The raven put the blonde down on the bed. At least I wanted to make sure you were healthy. The kitsune just rolled his eyes and turned his attention to the sleeping baby inside the crib. He was waking up slowly after hearing the voices of his parents. Naruto gently cradled the boy and smiled as he opened his eyes gradually, leaving a pair of big bright blue eyes. The little boy, weirdly enough for its very tender age of only a week, let out a small chuckle. He's just so cute. He is. Just like you. The prince said, making the boy blush slightly. Nay, Naru-chan? I'll return to the castle today. You're gonna leave me here alone, Sasuke? The blonde pouted. Sasuke smiled and kissed the kitsune's forehead. I'll be back as soon as possible, Koibito. I've a very important errand to run. Naruto still pouted, but he nodded nevertheless. The raven gave him a peck on the lips before leaving the room, not forgetting to kiss his little Tsuki as well. The boy just watched as his lover left him inside the room with their baby. Actually, he had heard the conversation about the Uzumakis and was worried about what the prince would do after he found out about the truth. At the same time, Sasuke was heading back to the castle. After hearing the explanation from both his brother and his lover's brother, he felt the need to go and ask for the real truth which he knew was in his father's hand. After about 15 minutes, he reached the palace and immediately went inside. He found the middle-aged man inside the study and confronted him immediately. Father, I wish to speak to you, he spoke. Sasuke. Later. Why didn't you tell me about this earlier? Because I didn't want you to feel like I'm keeping him for the sake of my friend, the king replied, a serious expression painted on his face. The raven quieted at this. He knew it would indeed become like that if his father told about the truth from the start. Then again, he was still mad that he knew about it when he had already had a child. It really made him feel like a useless idiot. He cursed himself mentally, holding his aching head. His father noticed this and let out a sigh, getting up from his chair and approaching his son. Just let it go, Sasuke, he said, patting the prince's shoulder. What happened had happened, there's nothing we could do to change it. Then, the king decided to change the topic. I'm looking forward to see my grandchild. For real? He smirked. So did Sasuke. The both of them stared at each other before the king patted the raven's shoulder again and went out of the study room. On the other hand, the prince just sat on the chair, a satisfied look filled his face. He let out a sigh and silently thanked his father. He then got up and left the room as well, returning back to the hospital to his family. I wish you would be happy nervous today, Sasuke. It's okay. Everything will be just fine, but what if they don't like the baby? The boy asked. The raven sighed. Trust me, they'll like the baby. Father had already told me that he's looking forward to see our baby. The two of them were currently standing outside the hospital, waiting for the carriage to arrive. The blonde was holding his little baby boy, clenching his lover's hand with a free hand at the same time. The prince sighed for the third time that morning as he rolled his eyes at his boyfriend's antics. He had been trying to tell the kitsune that everything was just fine, but he just would not listen to it. For the nth time, Naruto, stop fidgeting already, he growled, holding his head. Naruto pouted. But I'm nervous. Sasuke sighed again and turned to the blonde, focusing his attention to the brunette in his boyfriend's arms. He stared at the baby for a while and he stared back at his father. All of a sudden, he reached out his tiny hands to the raven, much to his and the blonde's surprise. The kitsune widened his eyes and giggled slightly as he handed the little child to his father. That's so cute, Sasuke. The boy giggled. Tsuki-chan loves you. A small smile formed on the prince's face. You love daddy too, don't you, Tsuki-chan? Not just your mommy, don't you? The baby giggled and laughed in amusement when the raven rubbed his nose against the boy's belly. He clutched his father's bluish-black hair and ruffled them like a baby would, which made Naruto giggle more. Then, the carriage arrived and they all went back to the castle. As soon as they reached the palace, much to their surprise, they were greeted by the king and the queen and the villagers. Welcome home. Most of them cheered happily. Later. What the hell, father? I didn't expect something like that to happen. Sasuke-kun, you know better not to talk like that in front of you father, his mother said, smiling as she returned back to playing with the small baby. But, mother, the raven turned to the lady. I was expecting something, a little bit more formal. The queen stared at him for a while, then she turned to the blonde holding the baby. You liked it, didn't you, Naruto-kun? Very much, the boy smiled. Actually, I really don't know why Sasuke-teme is making such a fuss about it. I mean, it's fun, who cares if it's surprising or not? Besides, I love surprises. You're just so cute and naive, Naruto-kun. Both Naruto and Her Highness giggled. Sasuke, on the other hand, glared at them with an unknown envy feeling him. His father noticed this and smirked slightly, approaching his wife. Then, he took Tsuki from the blonde's hands, cradling him gently. The kitsune blushed slightly, watching as his lover's father played with his little boy. A small smile slowly appeared on his face. Arigato gozaimasu. The king looked at the blonde and laughed in amusement, much to everyone's surprise. What are you thanking me for? Well, for letting me be a part of this family, he blushed slightly. The man smiled, patting the boy's head. You're already a part of this family from the start, Naruto-kun. Ever since I saw you for the first time 10 months ago, I knew you're Minato's son. And as he's already part of my family, why wouldn't it make you as well? The same goes for your brother as well. Speaking about the redhead, he's pregnant as well, right? At this, Naruto coughed violently. Why yeah. Youngsters these days, aren't they so fast? The queen giggled, making the boy blush deeper. Sasuke suddenly blew air into his ear, causing him to eep in surprise. Then I guess mother and father wouldn't mind taking care of our baby for a while, right? Sasuke teme. Not at all, you can have the whole day to yourself, his mother replied, still giggling. Arigato gozaimasu. So. Sasuke teme. Let me go. I won't, Naru-chan, the raven purred, throwing the smaller boy onto the bed and crawling on top of him. It's been a while, hasn't it? Sasuke. Sasuke ignored his plead, nibbling on his ear. I missed you so much, Naru-chan. Subconsciously, Naruto wrapped his legs and arms around the taller guy and pressed himself as if he wanted more of the pleasure. Surprised, Sasuke parted away from the kiss and stared at the smaller one. He had his eyes half closed and filled with lust, saliva dripping down his chin as he gazed back into the raven's ebony eyes. Then, he slowly rocked himself against the Uchiha's Sasuke. He breathed. I need you, Naruto. Again, the raven latched himself onto the pair of bruising red lips. He rocked against the boy faster, creating frictions between their hard shafts. Naruto started to moan into the kiss, pressing himself closer to the prince and arching his back. As soon as they parted from the kiss, Sasuke started sucking on the inviting tanned skin on the blonde's neck, making him purr in delight. Sasuke. He grabbed Sasuke's hair. Stop that, it tickles. The raven looked up at the kitsune, smirking devilishly. He gave one last lick on the boy's belly button before moving down to the hardened shaft. He glanced up at the blushing angel before smirking again and gave the tip his slightest lick, making Naruto shudder at the sudden contact. He then wrapped his long slender fingers around the blonde's manhood and started pumping so very slowly. Sook. The boy started whining, writhing underneath the bigger of the two. Faster. Ha. Onegai. Sook. Ignoring his pleads, Sasuke continued teasing and torturing the blonde, slitting his thumb into the foreskin every once in a while. After a while, he lowered himself and hovered on top of the head, breathing hot air onto it and causing the boy to curse lightly. The prince smirked once more and unexpectedly, he took all of the kitsunes into his hot mouth. Fuck, Sasuke. Naruto immediately bucked his hips, but he was held firmly on the bed by a pair of strong arms. He growled, then started moaning and gasping again as the raven bobbed up and down his manhood. The vibrations that was caused from the delightful purrs of the Uchiha drove him crazy, making him throw his head backwards every time the pleasure got too intensifying. He panted. Sook. Kami, so good. Glancing up again, the raven purred once more before releasing the hard member swiftly with a pop, smirking. He licked his lips hungrily as he gazed at the lustful blonde with half-lidded eyes and rosy pink face from blushing a little bit too heavily. He latched himself to the boy's lips and shoved his tongue immediately into the inviting mouth, dominating the kiss in a matter of seconds. After a while, he parted away from the kiss so that the kitsune could breathe while he could lubricate himself. Wasting no time for his poor little Sasuke, he started sucking on 3 of his fingers. When he was sure they were wet enough, he inserted 2 of the digits into Naruto's tight hole at once, causing the boy to wince in pain, furrowing his brows as he bit his lower lip. Gomen, Naru-chan. He whispered to the blonde's ear, nibbling it slightly. I can't wait much longer. Sasuke. Ah. The raven began thrusting into the kitsune again, this time making sure he was not really hurting the boy. Naruto, on the other hand, had found something more interesting to do. He smirked to himself, knowing that Sasuke was unaware of it. All of a sudden, he clenched his muscles tightly around the 3 digits, causing the taller guy to gasp at the sudden tightness of the boy. Like it? Sasuke-kun? The blonde purred seductively. At this, Naruto pouted coyly and clenched his muscles around the fingers again. The prince thrust harder and deeper into the boy, until suddenly the blonde grabbed both his arms and gasped. Still smirking, Sasuke jolted his digits at the same spot again and again, receiving more gasps and delightful moans from the blonde. Suddenly, he pulled out his fingers, making the kits. Sasuke. He panted. Onegai. I want you, badly. You want me to do what, Koibito? The raven breathed into the boy's ear, squeezing his member playfully. Upon hearing this, the raven blushed slightly. Still, he was never happier to comply with it. He placed his huge throbbing manhood in front of the boy's entrance, shoving himself into the tight entrance immediately. His sudden act was repaid by a scream of pain and pleasure from Naruto as he squeezed himself once again, this time tighter than ever as he wrapped his arms around the Uchiha's neck. Sasuke. He gasped. Kami-ah, he screamed. Sasuke. The both of them spurted the most seeds they had ever produced in one go. Naruto onto the bed and Sasuke deep inside the boy. As he came, the raven continued to thrust into the blonde until all his semen were swallowed by the kitsune's body. Slowly, he pulled out from the boy and rolled himself over, pulling the smaller one into a warm hug. The both of them panted for a little while. I love you, Naruto. Love you too, Sasuke. Then, the raven moved to the drawer of the cabinet beside the bed and took out a small container that is wrapped in rich red velvet. Naruto widened his eyes slightly at the sight and turned to Sasuke in confusion. The prince smiled, shifting a little so that he was seated properly on the bed. Then, he slowly opened the container in front of the kitsune. Guess what's inside? Sasuke. I love you very much, Naruto. The Uchiha said, taking the boy's left hand. And with this, I shall claim you as mine officially, both in soul and body. Will you marry me? Uzumaki Naruto? A tear spilled out of Naruto's eyes. Hi. I love you, Sasuke. I love you too. Uchiha Naruto. 5 years had passed since the Uchihas settled down with each other, both the older ones and the younger ones. Over the years, their whole family grew, from an average size of 7 to a bigger quantity of 12. After the boy named Uchiha Tsuki, 5 more adolescents were added into the family, 3 girls. One being a blonde and the other 2 redheads, and 2 boys, a blonde and a brunette. Uchiha Tsuki, being the oldest of the 6, was a 5-year-old brunette with bright bluish-purple eyes. He was a very energetic young boy with the heart of a lion, being very bold and confident. His little sister, the 3-year-old Uchiha Taiyo, was a blonde that had sparkly ebony eyes. She possessed the characteristics of her mother, being very hyper and bubbly all the time. Their youngest brother, Uchiha Niji, was also a blonde and had big bright blue eyes. At the tender age of 2, he was already showing his intelligence and focus, following the traits of his father. Their oldest cousin, the 4-year-old Uchiha Akane, looked just like her mother, with dazzling red hair and cat-like lime green eyes. She was very playful, courageous and curious, being a perfect copy of her mother when he was younger. Her little brother, Uchiha Kuroi, was 3 years old and had brownish-black hair and a pair of dark green eyes. He was a serious boy with a high curiosity and intelligence. Lastly, came Uchiha Natsu, the naughty and witty 1-year-old redhead with a pair of black eyes that she received from her father. The whole family was very happy and grateful with the birth of all the kids. Together, they lead a merry life and lived happily ever after. Guess what happened when there were too many mischievous young ones to be taken care of? You got that right, everyone. Utter chaos. Let's see what really happened in the 5th year the family lived together. Mama. Tsuki Ni-chan's bullying Niji-chan again. I did not. Taiyo-chan's the one bullying him, did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. Did not. Mama, stop quarreling already, the both of you. The blonde came to the garden with furrowed brows. Now, where's Niji-chan? He's right. The girl turned around and was shocked to see her brother disappear. There. He was there just now. This is all your fault. Tsuki ni Teme. You're supposed to look after him. Tayo-chan. What did I tell you about not using that word? The kitsune said sternly. The small blonde pouted. But mama, you always call Dada like that. The 23-year-old guy sighed and picked the little girl up, holding Tsuki's hand with his free hand. The three of them then began to search for the 2-year-old boy that had seemed to wander off while his older siblings were arguing just now. They were not the least worried though. Ever since the blonde boy could walk, he would always scamper off whenever nobody was seeing. Now, where could he be running off to? The kitsune asked, mainly to himself. There he is, mama, behind that bush. Both the males turned towards where the girl was pointing. Indeed, just behind the bush, they could see a tiny little foot sticking out. Immediately, they recognized the foot as Niji's, from the black baby shoes that only the little blonde had. Quickly, their mother signaled them to be quiet as he quickly yet silently put Tayo onto the ground. Then, the three of them tiptoed towards the bush. In one, the blonde whispered, "2, 3, boo." A small yelp was heard as the baby literally jumped off the ground in surprise. Fortunately, he fell into the arms of his mother. Both Tsuki and Tayo rolled all over the ground laughing their heads off, and the guy giggled as the baby pouted and started whining. They all continued to laugh and giggle, not to forget wailing, as they walked back towards the palace. It was your fault for going off without telling anyone the first place after all, Niji-chan. The baby puffed his cheeks and tried to struggle free out of the blonde's arms, continuing to whine and wail. He was just about to fall onto the ground when suddenly, a pair of pale, stronger arms caught him right in time before he managed to make his escape. Growling slightly, he turned to the one who stopped him from escaping. The person holding him smirked. Where do you think you're going now, Niji-chan? Dada. The kitsune giggled. Ma, Niji-chan. Enough with the playing already, isn't that right, Sasuke? HN. The raven chuckled. You're being quite a good mother, Naruto. At this, the blonde blushed. Urusei, Teme. There, you can call Dada Teme again. No fair. HN. Naruto rolled his eyes and picked Tayo up. Then, the family of 5 went inside the castle and brought the kids to the playroom. Inside, 3 other children were playing. Upon seeing their cousins, 2 of the kids jumped out of their chairs and went to get the 3. The other one just sat at her place as she continued to play with the soft toy she was currently holding. Naruto-chan, can I play Marry Me with Tsuki-kun today? The red-haired girl asked. The kitsune choked on his own saliva and started coughing. What cough did you say? Go on, the raven suddenly said, smirking smugly. You can play that with him. Sasuke Teme. Nani? The prince's face was expressionless, but the smirk never escaped his face. The blonde growled and rolled his eyes before putting little Tayo onto the floor, watching as the girl ran towards the small redhead as soon as she was free from her mother's arms. Upon seeing the hyper-blonde running towards her, a flash of horror glinted in the baby's eyes, and she started crying immediately. Immediately, Naruto ran towards the girls and picked the redhead up, trying to shush her down. After about a minute or so, the baby just would not stop crying. And her parents got inside the room. At the exact time, the baby stopped crying and was reaching out for her mother. Quickly, the kitsune held the redhead out to his brother and the girl hurriedly scurried out of his hands and into the arms of the redhead. Shish. Ma, Natsu-chan. The redhead said gently, what happened here? His little brother shrugged. Dunno. I just let Tayo-chan out of my arms and she ran to Natsu-chan. Then she just cried all of a sudden. She doesn't like Tayo-chan then? Ed pouted. They all looked at each other and came out with one conclusion. The hyper-blonde was way too bouncy for the somewhat brooding redhead. When she found out about this, Tayo started ranting on how she could be a great sister and all. Nevertheless, Natsu would just scream and started kicking around whenever she got too close to her. At last, she sighed and hung her head low in defeat. But it's not fair. Later. Looks like Natsu-chan would be very clever when she grows up, won't she? Yeah. A pessimistic genius. The redhead rolled his eyes. Reminds me of certain people. Hey, we're not pessimistic. the Uchiha siblings said at the same time. All of them stared at the two of them, turned to each other, and either laughed, giggled, snickered or tried their hardest not to laugh. Veins popped out everywhere around the brothers' faces as they got slightly red, both angry and embarrassed. The younger of the two's lover grinned as he pecked on the raven's cheek, trying to calm him down a bit. His brother, being the older one's lover, did the same as well. No need to get so moody now, Sasuke, the blonde pouted coyly, and two of their kids squealed at that. Naruto's right, no need to be moody, Itachi, the redhead agreed, smiling genuinely at the other raven. Anyways, we should start cleaning up now, kids. Get up, get up, get up, on your feet now, let's go. The children all got to their feet, so did the adults. Then, the kids started to clean up the table with the supervising of the redhead while all the adults, including the babies, went out of the dining hall, each with a smile planted on their faces, except for the two Uchihas who were still moody from previous. They all headed to the living room, and waited for the kids to finish their works. Kyuubi-kun's being a real nice housewife, isn't he? The only woman in the room smiled. He is, the blonde replied, smiling back. I can still remember, even before we came here, he was such a perfectionist. In a good way, that is. But still, he was a great housewife and brother, and I really admire and appreciate him for that. Lucky Itachi-kun for having Kyuubi-kun then, right? Yep. He grinned, turning to the slightly blushing raven. His little brother rolled his eyes. He was still quite pissed from before, and being a usually mad for a while guy, he just sat at the end of the couch with his cheek resting in his palm, not bothering to join the conversation or to entertain his little baby who were crawling towards him. The little boy got to his father's feet and grabbed the raven's trousers, pulling himself up. Dada, he called with his babyish voice, climbing onto the guy. Dada? Seeing no response whatsoever from the prince, the tiny blonde puffed his cheek and pulled a strand of the dark hair. Dada. Ow. Sasuke immediately responded. Niji-chan. He sighed and took the baby in his arms, relaxing a bit as the boy giggled and played with his long bangs. His spouse noticed this and grinned, inching closer towards him. He then changed his grin to a sweet smile as he took the blonde from the raven's arms. Niji was slightly uneasy when he lost contact with his father, but nevertheless he was happy to be in his mother's arms. Mama. What is it, Niji-chan? Me sweepy, he said in his tiny voice, yawning. Ah. Niji-chan ish sweepy, isn't he? The blonde said in a baby accent. Well, come on then, let us go get some sleep. The prince, on the other hand, just smirked and watched as his lover got off the couch and started walking out of the room. He got up as well, bowing slightly to his parents and his brother before following the kitsune. Outside, they could see that H-tier children had just finished cleaning up the dining room and was currently running towards the living room, or more probably, towards them. We're going back to our room, the redhead said and turned around, only to have her screeching her feet on the ground with a scream. She did not manage to stop herself and ran straight into Sasuke. All the other kids just watched as she clumsily picked herself up from the annoyed raven. She then quickly hopped off the prince's body and apologized to him numerous times, hiding behind the kitsune's legs. The guy glared at her lightly before rolling his eyes and sighing, thanks to the blonde's stern look. Really? He approached the girl and crouched down in front of her, ruffling her bright red hair. Be careful next time, okay? Akane-chan. Don't run around blindly like that. You could get hurt. The redhead smiled brightly and nodded. Arigato ne, Sasuke-ji-chan. And sorry for bumping into you again. HN. Tsuki-kun, Taio-chan, it's time to go to sleep now, the blonde said to his children. Yes, mama. The blonde girl said, turning to the raven behind her. I'll see you tomorrow, Kuroi-kun. Kuroi stared at her stoically and nodded slightly. He then followed his hyper sister towards the living room, his hands in his pockets, which was very peculiar for a 3-year-old. The kitsune just watched the little boy with amusement. He really reminded him much of the Uchiha brothers. At this thought, he chuckled slightly, making the prince turn to him in curiosity. What's wrong with you, Dobi? Nothing, he smiled, and don't call me that, Teme. HN. The boy sighed slightly. I really can't believe 7 years has passed since my brother and I became one with this family. You're not happy about it? Of course not, it's just that. Well, to even think that I got my first child when I was 18, all thanks to you. It seems like a dream to me. He sighed again and looked at his sleeping baby in his arms. Suddenly, the raven hugged him and gave him a loving kiss on his temple. Does this feel like a dream to you? No. Then it's not a dream, the taller guy smiled. You, me. Our kids. This is all true. Without you, this all would never happen. I wouldn't find the real meaning of love. My father wouldn't be happy again. My brother wouldn't be loving again. Your brother wouldn't be loved again. The children wouldn't exist. It's all because of you, Naruto. We're what we are now because of you. Thanks, Sasuke. I love you. Love you too. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next part.